Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is already Friday, the 10th day of April, 2015. Here's part of John Bound's excellent report on democide, and we'll be back with the main transmission live worldwide.
Last Thursday morning, 148 Kenyan university students were slaughtered. The al-Shabaab terrorists from neighboring Somalia took their time executing and beheading Christians and innocents that could not or would not recite from the Quran. It took troops from Kenya's capital, Nairobi, to finally arrive in Garissa just before 2 p.m., 7 hours after the massacre began.
What is adequate? About 150 people face down on the ground, many of them shot in the head, execution style, and parents and students saying we were waiting for several hours.
The response was adequate, and because of the military garrison that was actually quite close to the university, one cannot actually say that the response was slow.
While it took the Kenyan military a neglectful 7 hours to finally arrive at the massacre in Garissa, the United States reflects that same slothful response our taxpayer dollars burn for.
Patty showed them a small revolver she was carefully holding in the palm of her hand. A camera crew was there to capture what unfolded next.
I said, it's not even loaded. And I dropped it on the floor.
You got a gun?
Well, they punched me in the face. Look at my black and blue marks. Look at what they did to me.
No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
Katrina was the dry run for what we have come to expect from a federal response. Katrina was surreptitiously politicized by the Bush administration, while hundreds of volunteer firefighters and National Guard were ordered to wait for days until finally being authorized to respond to the massive devastation. During the ordeal, then Vice President Cheney ordered a Mississippi Electricity Cooperative to restore power to a gas pipeline rather than restoring power to 2 rural hospitals. And after the fact, we learned that the White House was fully aware that the levees had broken and flooding was underway as it happened, contrary to what they told the public.
It is chaos along the Jersey Shore. The superstorm battering the barrier islands. In the crosshairs, Atlantic City.
Look, talk about a delayed reaction. It's kind of like Force 10 from Navarone, where they detonate the dam and it doesn't collapse right away. It takes a few minutes. Sandy's worse than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was mainly hype, and they still did overhype it as basically the storm of all time, Satan incarnate ravaging the East Coast.
The cops were geared up in their, paramilitary gear. They just didn't want to deal with anybody. I could kind of understand that, but you could tell some of these guys were really getting off on it.
The Pentagon's done breakdowns in different countries watching this. Over 90% will start killing for food and water. And within 15 days, 90+%, depending on which study, it's right over 90, become cannibals. Within 15 days, the 9 out of 10 plus people will start eating others. Now, I mean, it's not going to get to that point, obviously, but notice this is happening in areas where you have people that are disarmed in these big mega cities that are death traps during disasters. I mean, if there was ever a big earthquake in L.A. or New York, a really big one, I mean, the system isn't going to be able to help you, and they aren't going to. They're going to come and take your guns.
According to the FBI statistics regarding percent distribution of incidents where police came to the victim by police response time and type of crime, when it comes to violent crime, the highest percentage of response time fell under 11 minutes to an hour. And for property crimes, where you would absolutely need to defend yourself from a home invasion, 45% of response time fell under 11 minutes to an hour.
If the feds tried to do that, disarm this country, I said you would see an uprising and maybe a version of the Second American Revolution because of that. Just read the Declaration of Independence. It's right in there. So the feds coming in and going into homes, forcing their way into homes and removing firearms. I mean, the thought is preposterous.
Even Interpol Secretary General Ronald Noble suggested an answer to the bloodshed in Kenya could be in arming civilians. It only took 9 attackers to wipe out 148 Kenyans at Garissa University. Just 4 to kill 67 Kenyans in last year's Westgate Mall shooting. And only a few terrorists to kill 213 and injure 4,000.
It's an excellent report. The full report's on Infowars.com. Stay with us. When Hillary Clinton will announce her presidential run is coming this Saturday. So everybody prepare to get their barf bags ready. And to see the media fawning after her. And then it happened. The people woke up to the tyranny.
It took me by surprise. I knew that you felt it too. By the look in your eyes, sweeter than wine.
It is the Friday Global Transmission. Thank you so much for joining us on this 10th day of April 2015. We have no guests today. We are going to open the phones up throughout the 3 hours. We have a bunch of really important special reports, some of which have not even aired on the nightly news yet. And boy, talk about important news and analysis and everything that we've predicted following the globalist plan unfolding. It is a very exciting, in a horrifying way, time to be alive. Where to start? National Guard contacts Infowars.com. Paul Watson has an article on this. It's excellent, but I think we should add the screenshot of the email from the National Guard with their email address on there. Because I saw some of the commenters saying, this isn't real. That's always the standard procedure. So I want to get a screenshot of that added. We don't even have to call Watson in England to do it. We just have one of the other writers take the email Biggs got from the National Guard and put it in the story. National Guard blocks Infowars reporters from covering dirty bomb exercise. Now, again, this is just going to be the cover. This is just going to be the cover for larger snatch and grab and governmental takeover, homeland security, power seizure, internet seizure, infrastructure seizure, training that we know is going on secretly and that has been pretty much declassified. But still, they don't even want us to be there to cover their whitewash. Now, Joe Biggs gave me some really big Jade Helm information news that I looked into after he brought it up to me this morning, and I haven't seen any press coverage yet. So we've got some major breaking news on Jade Helm. I'm going to need to get Joe in here. I said no guest, but we're going to have Joe Biggs in here at 1:30 today. I was going to meet with him after the show, but we should probably just war game this on air about what we should cover, what we should do. But there's some very interesting things developing right now with the coverage of this huge military exercise coming up that kicks off in the middle of the summer. The truth is it never ends. The infiltration, the training, creating the relationships between the Pentagon and local police, preparing to completely end Posse Comitatus is an ongoing Rand Corporation plan. But they're going to go into high gear later this summer. And here are the headlines. National Guard blocks Infowars reporters from covering dirty bomb exercise. And again, we have other major breaking news that we've not released yet on the Jade Helm front that I'm not even sure I want to put out on a Friday evening. I may wait till Sunday when I'm going to be live in studio to do that. But again, we'll discuss that with Joe actually during the next break if he's listening. If he can just come up here. His office is about 100 yards away. I want to have a discussion with him about if we should just go ahead and break this. My gut is just release something right when it comes in instead of sitting on it. But sometimes sitting on something, then you're able to put it out when it'll have a bigger effect. So I've got to think about that. We're just so busy around here, we just go ahead and discuss everything out in the open. That's our policy. Sometimes we sneak up on the system, but more often than not sneaking up actually makes them act even more crazy and release more information. But we'll see. National Guard blocks Infowars reporters from covering dirty bomb exercise. Captain cites nature of previous work as reason for denial. And they just decide we can't come and cover it, even though a lot of it's carried out in public. I guess they'll try to have the police stop us from showing what's happening. And that dovetails with this Twin Cities Daily Planet story that Kurt Nimmo's expanded on. Minneapolis police records shed light on 2014 military training and how the training was basically about keeping it secret from the public what the true nature of the military drills were. And they were takeover drills, quote, anti-terrorism drills. They'll always do it under the auspices of bomb disposal or decontamination. That's the cover for the takeover of society. And I've made 4 films on it. Records show Pentagon sought secrecy during domestic training exercise. Minneapolis city government and police collaborated on violating Posse Comitatus. And they've got regular Army, Marines, you name it, MPs from the Air Force, you name it, kicking down gun shop doors, raiding people's houses. This has been going on for 20 years. First case we found was in Virginia in 1989. And that's in my film, Road to Tyranny. The documents, the insiders, the officers blowing the whistle, all of it. But that was at an embryonic level. Now, the police state is a 25-year-old NFL first draft pick linebacker. It's not a little baby and mommy anymore. And it's not very sweet. And it's here right when they prepare to bring America down. Again, I'm not saying the military is the enemy itself, as the media tries to portray it. It's the role they're being put in and the unconstitutional preparations that are taking place and the psyops they're responding with against us. The military is training to take your guns on record. Everybody knows about Katrina and scores of other operations. We're going to be breaking that down. Meanwhile, we're going to look at how the globalists create the police-state crisis and then offer their solution, total federalization, which is really globalization because the feds are openly under the control of 4 or 5 foreign mega banks. I say that because 2 of the big banks have been quietly merging. It was 6 a few years ago, and then it was 5 mega banks. Now it's 4, maybe 5. I mean, the global consolidation is happening very quickly, and Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, as institutions, are at the top of the pyramid. Of course, above that are individuals and families. Family of Walter Scott tells Reverend Al Sharpton to keep away. They've said that they don't want the same circus that was Ferguson to be used over their dead family member. And the cop has been indicted for murder. And if they do give him a pass and give him a 5-year slap on the wrist, it's going to be outrageous. Now, what the public probably doesn't know is the average murderer would get 5 years, too. But it just doesn't matter. He's got to get a long prison sentence. Clearly killed him in cold blood. It's just over the top. But you need to also think about the fact that every day I probably see 10 stories like this. One officer shot, another injured in D.C., just randomly shot. Deputy injured in samurai sword attack. I mean, these are just the daily stacks of articles that come up. So what's happening is the police are getting shot and killed and run over and stabbed, and then they go into a demilitarized attitude as if the public's their enemy. Then they start treating the general public as enemy combatants to be shot in the back, and then the whole thing explodes. And that's where the globalist social engineers want this to go. And on the ashes of this crisis, they'll build their 21st century tyranny. But the good news is that Al Sharpton traveling down to South Carolina to stir all this up, the family has told him don't come, but the word is he's still coming. What a piece of work. There's a new shock video that I'm going to play some of now. And if you're a new radio listener driving down the highway and you say, you're going to play video on a radio show? Infowars.com/show. And cable and TV systems, you name it, are carrying this broadcast right now. So it's simulcast/TV. So if you're a radio listener, you can always go to Infowars.com/show and find the free video feed, all of it. But shock video, police punch kick man over 50 times. After he surrenders, he jumps out of his car, gets on his horse in a rural area, and they finally surround him. I mean, who doesn't like a good chase? And he didn't resist them. And so they basically try to beat him to death. How do you pronounce his name? Jared Posick. And he's white. So don't expect this to be that big of a deal. But it makes the beating of Rodney King look tame. And the cops refuse to tell the girlfriend the condition of the 30-year-old man. This is in San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies. The sheriff has come out and said, quote, that it's a very disturbing video and he's going to investigate. You know, that's what I don't like is you see these videos all the time where the cops are going to arrest somebody and they just go ahead and jump on you with their knees and run your head in the ground for no reason. Let me explain how karma works to the police. That's going to come back on you and your family, stupid. So if there's no reason to use force on somebody, don't do it. But this is the so-called tough guy behavior. Cops have been trained to act like thugs. We have a gang thug culture in this country that's pushed by Hollywood and MTV and the media. It's such a nasty culture that it's being exported to Asia, the Middle East. Gangster, hip-hop, thug prison culture has been exported to the U.S. military, the police, the general public. And so that's what you see is them acting like thugs. And we're showing the video now of he has his hands behind his back, and so they start kicking him in the testicles and in the head and in the kidneys and in the... I mean, I'm sorry, folks. Normally, if I was to hit somebody 20 times, they'd probably die. I mean, in my experience, you can't sit there. I'm not bragging. I'm just an average guy. But I got in fights in high school and up until college. And, I mean, if I got in a real fight, people usually didn't wake up for like a month. And I'm not proud of it. One time, a few months later, the guy never really did wake up. But the point is, and I was in the hospital from fighting and got concussions where I couldn't get up for 3 days and had to have a surgery on my leg. I mean, I just don't... Who's training these cops? You can't hit somebody 50 times and not kill them or not really hurt them. That's why we're not hearing his condition. The guy's probably a vegetable. I mean, it's just unbelievable what thugs these people are, and it's dangerous. We'll be back. It's declassified, and they just hope you're ignorant and don't look into it. FEMA camps have been built under the Emergency Centers Establishment Act and other programs all over the country for times of civil unrest and collapse in society. The military's training for a legitimate mission because the globalists are maneuvering us towards collapse and societal degeneration. You'll want the military on the streets during a collapse. The problem is after they stabilize things, they won't leave. And behind them, you will have the HUMET spies, the operatives, the social engineers, the political officers known as commissars. And this is the plan under Clergy Response Team, InfraGard, and all the programs. They are training the InfraGard infrastructure and the Clergy Response Teams on record. We got the documents when they were secret 8 years ago. They were made public 2 years later. They are training them to take on gun owners, veterans, Tea Partiers, conservatives, everything you see being promoted by the news, everything you see in the Homeland Security training documents. We are the enemy. So we are pre-deployed as U.S. citizens, defending the Republic from outside takeover. That's what it is. That's not rhetoric. That's what this is. I mean, didn't you think there'd be some defense of the country, even if it wasn't organized? Didn't you know there'd be people that saw what was happening and stood up against it? Epic stuff is going on in front of everyone. And the globalists just think we're going to sit here and play along with their psyop. We told you forced inoculations were coming. It's in the news today. We told you mass stealing of private land was coming. It's in the news today. We told you the raiding of private and public pension funds was coming. It's in the news today. We told you dollar devaluation was coming. It's in the news today. We told you global treaties handing power to private corporate boards was coming. It's in the news today. We told you the NSA was spying on you through your webcams and listening to you. Almost everyone. 80% of phone calls. It's in the news today. Everything we told you 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago is happening. And then the Pentagon, in a national federal exercise, has the National Guard under their control tell us you're not welcome to come cover our drills, as if we need permission to come cover your drills that are off military bases, that are nothing more but domestication operations to train us to accept the military running around in death squads. And don't say our military will never do it. Give me a break. There have been death squads in this country for 50 years. And in the old days, they started out by killing KGB agents that were certified Russian spies in the country. And then just a decade later, it was killing drug dealers that weren't laundering their money through the government. And that's how fast they corrupted our military. And that's come out in Congress, and it's all over the news. And the C-130s and the passenger jets retrofitted by Wells Fargo and Wachovia to fly the drugs in. And it's in AP, Reuters, Bloomberg. And then they have the Daily Beast call up and make jokes about it. Had the Daily Beast calling me last night and today going, so you're defending Rand Paul, the fact that he sells webcam blockers on his website. Yeah, instead of putting a piece of tape up over your webcam like we've gotten here, have one where it's like a lens cap where you, when you want to use it, you just pull it back. But see, they think laughing at that gives them power over it. They're not even saying, oh, the government isn't watching you. It's kooky to do something about it. It's kooky to recognize it. It's kooky to be involved. Look at these headlines. Just look at these headlines. Exclusive, Hillary Clinton launches 2016 campaign on Sunday en route to Iowa. Syria, America's democratic terrorist, Al-Qaeda seeks consultations to newly ruled city. CIA director says the war on terror may never end. Yeah, no kidding, because you run it. Look at this headline. New Ford car automatically obeys speed limits. California approves bill banning child vaccine exemptions. That's just some of what's coming up. I mean, the globalists are moving big time. Here's another headline. Gearing up for robot wars. I'm Alex Jones. Get the phone number out before I get into a lot of other news. I'm going to cover more news in the second hour. No guest today other than Joe Biggs popping in at the bottom of the third hour with major breaking Jade Helm news that we're working on with Kit Daniels and Paul Joseph Watson right now. But the headline, prescription drugs kill more than homicide in New York City, a shocking story by Anthony Gucciardi that links directly into government studies and a recent press release. There's also an article in The Independent breaking it down, a very important article in the featured news section of Infowars.com. We're going to be going over that. Some of the other headlines on Infowars.com. Obama's LGBT agenda, gender-neutral restroom near the White House. We talked about this yesterday, but Nemo breaks down the agenda that's basically driving it. And here's where I stand and where most Americans stand, regardless of race, color, creed, or sexual preference. I don't hate people or dislike people that are attracted to the same sex. But I also understand historically that during declining empires and nations, everyone starts becoming obsessed with things that are not in the norm. And mammals and every other major species have sex with the opposite sex to share genetics and then basically to raise the young, and that is how we operate. And there is a war on the normal order, and there is a conquest going on in the public schools with young and impressionable children as young as age 5, now age 4, in some Head Start programs, teaching children about dozens and dozens of sexual fetishes and things. That's all pedophilia. I don't care if you're teaching about heterosexual sex or sex with transvestites or whatever. It's super sick, it's super evil, and it screws kids up, and every study shows that. And there's still morals in this country. When top psychiatrists and child psychologists went public about 4 years ago and lawsuits were filed from Florida to Texas to cops doing the right thing in San Francisco, of all places, in the county, they're saying, I had the district attorney on, we're going to start arresting TSA that grope children. And they had the child psychologist saying this trains them to be abused by pedophiles. And then they went into the psychology of it. Of course it does. Does the TSA think they're doing that? No, they're compartmentalized. Some of them. Some of them are pedophiles. And so now they don't grope under 12 at the airport because people said no. And that's what this is all about, is getting us to obsess on transsexuals' rights and their right to have taxpayers pay for their sex change. Hey, I don't want to pay for your heart surgery. I don't want to pay to have your penis removed. I don't want to pay to have one added. I don't want to pay for your liposuction. I don't want to pay for your breast implants as they do in England. Taxpayers got to pay for boob jobs. No, and it's not because I hate women with fake breasts. It's because I hate being sucked off of. I hate having to pay for everything. I hate the government being the mafia don that hands out the goodies in the community because then it gives him total control. I hate being a slave. And we are a nation and a world now of jellyfish. Under political correctness, we're told, be hospitable, don't have your own opinion. First, it's be tolerant. Now it's don't have your own opinion. Don't discriminate. Well, a lot of forms of discrimination are good. As I've said many times, I discriminate what brands of coffee I buy to what tastes good and has got a good kick. I discriminate on what Mexican food restaurants I go to or what barbecue joints I go to. And let me tell you, I don't care if it's a black man behind a counter or a Mexican man or a Mexican lady or a white guy. I go where the barbecue's good. There's some Germans down in, they're listeners, only been there a few times and ran to the owners, down in, what's the town south of San Marcos, called Fushaks. Been there since the 40s, but now they got a place on the highway. That's some of the best barbecue I've ever had. That's white guys. Some of the best barbecue that may even trumpet was owned by black folks in Memphis. When I drive through Memphis, I go to the place Elvis loved. And it's certainly not a tourist trap. It's where Elvis really went. And let me tell you, it's so good, you can't quit eating it. And I don't care who's behind the counter. See, this is political correctness. There's a little place down here owned by some Mexican Americans. They just want to be called Americans just as good as well. I don't care what color you are. I care about what you do, what you produce. I don't care what color you are when I listen to music. I don't think, man, this Marvin Gaye's got a beautiful voice. He's black. Oh, my gosh, I'm listening to a black guy. Or I don't listen to Elvis sing and think, man, he's white. I sure like his white voice. I like how it sounds. But that's discriminatory. That I discriminate what barbecue I want. I discriminate off what fishing lure I want to use. You know why I discriminate? Because the bass discriminate. They're not biting on purple worms. They might bite on pink ones or yellow ones or orange ones or red ones. Or they might bite on a top water spinnerbait. Now, why are the fish being racist against black worms with red tails or white worms with green tails? You never know what the fish are hitting that day. Now, we just realized there's racism in bass. In fact, we should ban the names of bass. They've got black bass, they've got rock bass, they've got big mouth bass, small mouth bass. There's all different type of bass, and I realized a lot of the names are racist. They got white bass, they got black bass. You think I'm joking? In Europe, they're banning the names of birds, fish, you name it, as of a month ago, if they're named black. See the mental illness? The globalists are gang raping everybody with the mega banks, screwing everyone over with Obamacare, screwing everyone over with fluoride in the water, screwing us over devaluing the dollar, and they've got us all obsessing over Clorox emoticons or whatever they're called, because Clorox was white, and it must be code. Ah! White piece of paper. Ah! Why is the London Independent background white? Ooh. Sweden changes racist bird names. Can't say black starling anymore. Of course, it's a black bird. And I didn't mean to go off on a jag. I want to get to other news and take your calls. It just shows the scientific mind control that's taking place here. Let me give you some of the other bombshell news when we break it down in the next hour. New Ford car automatically obeys speed limit. And Ford got it from German engineers. Yeah, I told you just a few days ago, it's Mercedes, Audi, and Bavarian Motor Works, the Germans, oh, give me a break, that are leading the way in, quote, smart cars that are really driverless cars that you think you're driving. I told you that's how it'd be phased in. That's the MIT plan. And as early as next year, you don't have a choice. It's going to slow down and make you drive the speed limit. But don't worry, for a few seconds, it might let you press harder and speed up in case there was an emergency. And will folks even go get this turned off? Will people say, no, we don't want this Ford? No. Consumers will sit there with their thumbs firmly planted you-know-where, letting this whole system come in, a system ending human control and putting robots in control day one, programmed and run by the big corporations and government. In a eugenics plan to make the world set up where we're not needed anymore, put the machines in, and then release bioweapons to kill everybody. That's the official plan. I've made a whole bunch of films on it, like Endgame. You want to see the quotes? You want to see the government documents? You want to see a 3-hour film where I show you? I made the film 8 years ago telling you every word now beginning. Just like since 1998, I read the Rand Corporation plan, the Austin American Statesman, how great it would be to soon have military on the streets. Now terror attacks were coming and would revolutionize America. And it was thinly veiled where someone in the know, they were just telling everybody what was happening. So I went to the library because you couldn't get it online, and I got the latest copy of the National Police Stability Force, and I read it on air, and I knew the whole plan, and now here I am 16, 17 years later, and we're about halfway down the rat hole. And I just don't want to go down to the very bottom of the hole because there's a big snake down there that's going to eat us. Because I read the end of the report. And I mean, I have the confessions of the enemy. I have their battle plans. We have everything. I mean, all you got to do is check into it. This is Fox News reporting it like it's fun. Remember a couple weeks ago when the German pilot reportedly flew the plane into the ground? And I said, watch, they're going to call for it in the New York Times, because I know where they first put it out. I said New York Times. They're going to call for pilotless planes. And they did. New Ford car automatically obeys speed limit. Fox News. And, of course, reports back if you do even try to speed and gives you automatic tickets. California approves bill banning child vaccine exemptions for forced inoculations, the Sacramento Bee reported. And now it's got to go to the governor. And they said because of the measles outbreak. Oh, it's so scary. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. There hasn't been a measles-related death in 10 years. Oh, my gosh, in 1 out of a million cases, you might get some big scars. Oh, my gosh, let's take the vaccine that actually started the outbreak at the facility, and its own insert says can kill you or give you measles or diabetes or destroy your pancreas, pancreatitis. So now they've got bills to ban having inserts in the vaccines. They'll shut us up, won't they? How you like that? I told you forced inoculations were coming. And it's like saying, I told you the sun was coming up this morning. I'm not up here bragging going, told you, told you, told you, told you. I'm here saying, come on, folks, come on. And I'm not just talking to our regular listeners. I'm talking to new listeners, government people, PSYOPs folks. I guarantee you they got government PSYOPs people listening to this show and just operatives and others that are just casually listening right now who've got kids that are mentally retarded and screwed up and got autism. And you still serve the system even though you know full well at 18 months you went in and got that 3rd round of shots and Bobby never talked again. See, I take that personal that your kid screwed up and that the globalists did it. Why don't you have the humanity to get upset? Because you don't believe in yourself is why. You don't think you can change anything. My whole life's been about winning and changing things and dominating bullies. And I want the spirit of crushing bullies and sick freaks and scum to rise. And I want to educate everybody, take the country back, take the world back. And I'm not a vindictive person, but the globalists need to pay for what they've done as an example. And they need to end up like Mussolini did. Let's pull up some photos of Mussolini hung upside down with thousands of people spitting on him. That's where you're going to end up. And I'm telling you, as sure as the sun came up this morning, I know in my cells, in my spirit, you are going to pay for everything you've done, New World Order. Don't think for a minute you're going to escape justice. Excuse me. And people say, oh, listen to this guy, he gets upset. This is normal. There isn't a mammal species on Earth when watching its fellow creatures being hurt doesn't get upset. And then of the higher order predator mammals, they get vicious and they get wound up and they do something about it. I'm not gonna sit here and take it anymore. And that's why I'll have no one say I'm exceptional and no one say I'm a hero. I am not. I am normal. Normal. You read the vaccine inserts, and every one of them says it can kill you, brain damage you, give you dozens of neurological disorders, 50-something on average, just sterilize you, everything. And then they just sit there and go, there's no side effects. Safe and effective editorials every year at the beginning and end of school. Lying. There's never been a problem, never been an issue. They sit there bald-faced lying to you. It's not a side effect that it's brain-damaging people. It's on purpose. And they've gotten away with this, so suddenly it's getting worse and worse. And it was 1 in 25,000, then 1 in 10,000, then 1 in 5,000, then 1 in 1,000, then 1 in 300 and something, then 1 in 80-something, and now 1 in 60-something, and 1 in 50-something, and in South Korea, 1 in 30-something. And they say within 10 years, it'll be a third of the kids won't be able to talk. And it's all normal. Let's have a race to raise money to help the autistic kids. But let's not find out why it's happening. Why the breast cancer is exploding. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. Oh, I should have asked. Do we ever get the network phone system working? Well, good. Let's just reboot mine because it's dead. As a ritual, we can do that. Now, we're going to go to break, start taking your calls. It's just that we need to get upset. We need to get moving. We need to get these globalists off our backs. We need to get aggressive. We need to have the moral high ground, and we need to break through their laughing. When a city council laughs about fluoride in the water when you bring a scientist in to warn them in a Harvard study, you just sue them. Or you start going to the church they attend and getting in their face. And you go to every event they're at and get in their face forever, legally and lawfully. And then they won't be laughing later. You get aggressive with these turds. But you have a criminal elite scared of the public, knowing they've gotten away with bloody murder, and that's why they want to federalize, globalize, militarize, and hire a bunch of thugs for the police departments to hopefully protect them from the public as this plan goes into place. But then they can't help but play people off against each other, so they also want to stir up a civil war with the constabulary at the same time to distract as well. So all this and more in detail coming up. Before I go any further, just briefly, we have some life-changing, really amazing products that you've got to try. There's a lot of hype out there, a lot of talk, but the revolutionary form of iodine we have, it's purple, blue crystal, truly pure, not from seaweed-based, not red, but blue, electric blue, the true gas form, injected into an organic palm oil, X2 Nation iodine, been life-changing for myself and others. Truly amazing. Most people can't absorb the other types that are out there properly. You can get that with the Oxy Powder and the Super Male Vitality all together with free shipping. That's the Alex Challenge Pack. It'll run till the end of this month. The Alex Challenge Pack, free shipping, or you can buy those products individually and get free shipping as well. But those are the three that I religiously took. The Oxy Powder only for a 6-day run, but the other two every day for 45 days and lost an additional 6 pounds of fat. And I still am not in perfect shape, but I've gone from 99 pounds over to only about 35 pounds over right now. So you do the math. I've lost 65 pounds or more. And I tend to lose another 20 or so. But it was that and the same amount or even less exercise. I said, if this already helped me, what will happen if I don't forget and religiously do it? So I put reminders on my iPhone, hung it on a calendar, took it every day. I forgot a few times, but almost every day. And it was definitely these products, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. The stamina, the libido, the energy. They're all available, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. Your purchase funds the operation, so you can't lose. Stay with us. Make no mistake, it is big news. We're going to be covering it at the bottom of the third hour with other breaking news that the National Guard has responded to us saying that no, InfoWars is not allowed to be part of Jade Helm, even when they're on the streets, I guess. Well, you know what? We will be. And by the way, we have sources inside the military, so don't worry. We've got breaking news coming up in a couple hours. National Guard blocks InfoWars reporters from covering dirty bomb exercise. Captain cites nature of previous work as reasons for denial. And we have added the copy of the email to the story. It's linked on the left-hand side of drudgereport.com. And that dovetails. We should probably add this to Paul's article. Minneapolis police records shed light on 2014 military training. Records show Pentagon sought secrecy during domestic training exercise. And again, the globalists are co-opting the military and police. We're trying to stop the takeover to keep them constitutional. The media spins it that we're anti-military and police because we don't want them being taken over. It's the opposite. Now, I want to go to Darren, I want to go to Donna, I want to go to Joe, I want to go to Chris, I want to go to Rob, I'm going to get to everybody. But I mentioned this a few days ago, but never played the clip. So I thought we'd do it now. Video, UN climate change official says we should make every effort to depopulate the planet, close quote. There is pressure in the system to go toward that. We should do everything possible. That's Christina Figures, the executive secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. That is the Agenda 21 global system to depopulate the planet. Let's go ahead and go to that clip.
Is that
well, I mean, we all know we expect 9 billion, right, by 2050.
That's the peak.
So, yes, obviously, less people would exert less pressure on the natural resources.
That $3,000 dress would probably feed 50 Africans for a year.
So is 9 billion a foregone conclusion? That's like baked in, done? No way to change that?
Well, there again, there's pressure in the system to go toward that. We can definitely change those, right? We can definitely change those numbers, and we really should make every effort to change the numbers because we are already today exceeding the planetary carrying capacity today, to say nothing of adding more
population. It's been proven we're not surpassing the planetary carrying capacity with the clean technologies and things that are being suppressed. It's true that humans are damaging the earth in many ways, but the globalists are bringing in global carbon taxes and world government not to save the planet, but to totally take control of it. They believe they're God and are genetic engineering basically groups from every species out there, and that's the real danger, and building reactors everywhere and leaking garbage, but they say carbon dioxide that plants live off of is the problem. So see, that's the issue. It's that they're not really doing anything about problems. They're just saying get rid of people as a rationale to devalue life so they can kill whoever they want. And they tell the higher level initiates they're going to kill people down to a couple million. Not 500 million like Ted Turner calls for. Do you want me to play Ted Turner clips? You want me to pull him up in Newsweek? I mean, see the film Endgame, people. End game. End game. It's an end game, and we ain't in it. It's a club, and we ain't in it. To quote the late, great George Carlin. Well, here's the deal. I want to be in the club for everybody. I want everybody to be in the club. I want my children to be in the club. I want your children to be in the club. I want to build a better, really sustainable world and go to the stars. The globalists have decided we're ugly, we're bad, we're done. Because they're a bunch of psychopaths and sociopaths that hate everybody around them. And that get off on screwing people over. And they only nurture other scum like themselves. And every instinct I've got, developed on this planet, and all my ancestors' knowledge, and the good Lord's spirit tells me the enemy will fall and will be defeated. The question is, how bad's this hell going to be? Let's just identify this scum for what they are and awaken the planet and overturn this tyranny. We'll be back with your calls. Stay with us. All right, right, if you just joined us, I covered a ton of news in the last hour. I'm going to get into new Ford car automatically obeys speed limits. Headline should be Ford moves to make cars driverless. California approves bill banning child vaccine exemptions. Just huge news. Gearing up for robot wars, the Pentagon announces. That's just some of what's coming up. National Guard blocks InfoWars reporters from covering dirty bomb exercise. That's just some of what's coming up. But I want to go to a bunch of your calls. Darren, Donna, Joe, Chris, Rob, and many others. Let's go to Darren in Oklahoma right now. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Doing fantastic, sir. I just wanted to call in. I'm here in Oklahoma City. I know Oklahoma City bombing was a catalyst for you in the beginning. And I was in second grade when it happened here, and it's laid into the fabric of the community here. And we have a high index of suspicion pretty much at all times here. And I wanted to let you know there's a National Homeland Security Summit from April 17th through the 20th here in Oklahoma City. They're advertising it on billboards throughout the city, specifically at the fairgrounds. And I just wanted to get your take on that on the 20th anniversary of the bombing, the significance of it. And also I wanted to add a little snippet about Rockefeller being on the Transportation Committee in Congress as well. And one last thing, you're a mentor for me. I love you. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. You know, it's hard to believe that it's about to be 20 years since Oklahoma City. And the Citizen Network, when people really cared, when it was a smaller group of folks that were awake, almost day by day, they had a string of patriots who had live shows basically every night on Access TV on basic cable. And I was already going down there and starting to take some of the classes. It took about 6 months to go through them just because they didn't offer them very often. It was just 7, 8 nights. And I was already being a guest on a few shows, so I knew these people. And then Oklahoma City happened, and they were getting the tapes mailed to them from Oklahoma City 2 or 3 days after each newscast, and we're airing VHS clips of bombs being removed and bombs found in the building and cops being killed that saw it, and General Parton giving press conferences, the former head of Air Force Weapons Development, showing how the columns had blast points on them from plastique, and then Jane Graham doing press conferences that she saw the feds planting the bombs. And I was there watching this. I mean, this was actually on local news. One station refused to shut up, and then they got bought by the New York Times about a month later. We even had that reporter on. And, I mean, I was just seeing it all. About a week after it happened, I was watching the live local feeds of the governors there. They found bombs. They're removing them. And then I would see articles in the news going, conspiracy theorists think there were bombs and think that there were newscasts saying there were bombs, but we all had the footage. And I took that stuff and condensed it down in my film Road to Tyranny. But we even know the names of the guys that planted the bombs. We have their hotel receipts. We have them lying and saying they weren't in Oklahoma. I've had the cops on the show that were threatened that will murder your family, Don Browning and others, if you speak out. I've had Terrence Yankees, was his mother or wife on? I think both. Cop of the year. First cop to respond. And he started investigating it, so they tortured him to death. And it was the Justice Department. It was Eric Holder. Eric Holder ran it. Came out in lawsuits, the emails he was commanding the people. He hates patriots. Did it to blame us. It's a frame-up. See, the guy Hollywood tells you is evil, Francis Underwood, he throws bricks through his window and gets sympathy. The real criminals in Washington, they blow up daycare centers and blame it on us. I have a question. Is the presidency of the United States of America, our once great republic, a crown that is passed back and forth between two families, the Bushes and the Clintons? The fawning over Hillary Clinton that is going on, not just on CNN and MSNBC, but Fox News itself, is disgusting. I was back there like a hungry wolf wanting another cup of coffee Usually I have about 2 a day. Usually I have one about 5 o'clock. I have one at about 6 a.m. and 5 o'clock. I think I'm going to have a cup of coffee as soon as that watch pot that never got full is done. And I sat there for about 2 minutes listening to Fox News, watching Fox News, going, a formidable candidate, an incredible woman, regardless of what you think of her. Hillary, a real contender. A contender, her own party doesn't like her. Everybody's sick of her. She's worse than Brian Williams. She got caught in the exact same type of garbage, saying she flew into Bosnia and was under attack and had to run off the airfield when CBS News was there with her and showed that no one shot at them, nothing was happening, and she did a photo op. That's just one of hundreds of things you can destroy Hillary Clinton with, but no one has the will to do it. And it's because we won't stick up for each other like the VA. For a year, we know they have secret death list and don't give people treatment, not because there's not care, not because there's not money, but because they don't want the veterans getting better. They want you dead. You're done. Just like after a war, they spike cannons and destroy old tanks. They're doing that to you. They're retiring you the way you retire an old horse. You take it out on the back 40 and you shoot it in the head. Or maybe you call Elmer's Glue and they pull up and you march the old horse up into the back of the trailer, and the horse gets sent off to get cut into dog food meat and army steaks. That's what they still feed in the Army, horse meat in the canned meat. And you eat your canned meat, and the hooves get made into glue. And so that's why that's happening. Are people going to get upset? No, you're just going to go to the football game and get a tear in your eye when they show the American flag on the screen, the Star-Spangled Banner, and the TV camera cuts to troops that are there, part of the PSYOP, and then a Lockheed Martin ad comes on. Using the reflected glory of our warriors to sell the evil agenda, that's the rest of the story. All right, CIA director says the war on terror may never end. Syria, America's democratic terrorist. That's right. We're going to break that down. Hillary Clinton launching her campaign coming up this weekend. California approves bill banning child vaccine exemptions. That's huge news. New Ford car automatically obeys speed limits. The beginning of driverless cars is here. I'll tell you the rest of the story. Family of Walter Scott tells Reverend Al Sharpton, keep away, don't use their dead father as a way to create a circus. And a lot more. That's only the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to be covering here today. They're also announcing all over the news, police launching drones across the country after, of course, denying any of that existed forever. We also have mainstream news. Police records shed light on secret training in USA. Aspects of exercises hint at domestic focus. That's the mainstream Minneapolis newspaper saying it's for America. Of course it is. But then you read under it, Infowars.com, with the rest of the story. National Guard blocks reporters from covering dirty bomb exercise. Joe Biggs will be in studio with breaking news, not on that subject, but on a huge development coming up. We have a copy of the email with the contact for the National Guard, Captain Will Martin, in case any of you want to contact him, because they'll have mainstream news, Decepticon, and go, Jones claims they were banned. And Jones claims they're going to launch drones. Remember just 4 years ago, AP and over 1,000 newspapers ran the story saying Jones is insane. Matt Drudge is insane. Kurt Nemo's insane. They ran an article on Drudge, now discredited. They said that. Now discredited, saying there were going to be drones watching farmers and people. Yeah, we were linked directly to the Defense Department's own press release. Oh, were we discredited? Kind of like they've run these headlines. Yeah, Ted Cruz is discredited on Obamacare. He did that filibuster and said it'd be a big screw job, but hey, it's not hurting anybody, is it? When it's so horrible and so unpopular and so unconstitutional. Yeah, that Alex is discredited. He said a big glass of ice water is really good after you mow the lawn in July. Yeah, Alex is discredited. He said Marilyn Monroe was really good looking. Yeah, Alex is discredited. He said the NFL players wear helmets. Yeah, he's really a kook. And you're like, but it doesn't make sense. When they get up there, they play these mind games and go, there is no drone program. We have no drones. And the reporters go, but you've had drones all over the world for 10 years killing people. No, there's no drones. And then the head of the White House press corps, the spokesman, Biggs, is going to be doing a report on that soon, on drones. Gibbs comes out and says, yeah, of course it existed, but I had to tell you it didn't, even though it was known to exist. See, it's like if we said the Washington Monument is white. And they went, there is no such thing as a Washington Monument. You go, yeah, it's there, across from the White House. It's got an aluminum capstone. Yeah, you can go up on an observation deck. I've been on it. I've been up in it a couple times when I was a kid. And they go, no, you haven't. Doesn't exist. And you go, yeah, it's there in D.C. on the Potomac. District of Criminals. They go, no. You go, yes. And they go, no. And they just play these games. There's no military training to take your guns. There's no domestic spying. There's no NSA listening to you. They play these mind games, and it just doesn't work anymore. Joe in Texas on Jade Helm. Thanks for calling. Thanks for holding. You're on the air.
How are you, Alex, sir?
Good, brother. Welcome.
Thank you. Alex, I got a couple quick topics. I want to try to talk real fast, but the first one is credit to you on the drone thing. They're getting ready to implement it in the county sheriff's office in Uvalde, Texas. There is a headline in the Uvalde Leader News about it. And then secondly is I wanted to ask you about, I heard regarding, I went on the web and covered everything on Jade Helm that I could cover. There's one article on there, Alex, about that they're going to use, on the special operations, they're going to use something the equivalency of advanced warfare, which I know you've covered before, as far as the sound cannon on like mind control kind of thing. And
I didn't know that they were going to be using LRADs and microwave guns, but I know that at Tea Party events, I kept telling folks it's for us, and then out in Orange County, they had a pro-gun rally a few years ago, and here they showed up with a bunch of the microwave guns and the sound cannons, and now it's just standard. And I told folks, this is for us. And they go, no, it's not. No, it's not. But, yes, they're going to have crowd control, riot control, cordoning of cities, drills. But those won't be given media attention. They're going to give dirty bomb and decontamination events media attention to say, see, Alex Jones, or that unnamed website from Austin, said that we were coming to kill you. We didn't kill you. We just came and handed out lollipops. So, again, that's how they play their psyops.
Yes, sir. And I just, like I say, I'm up here in the Kill Country. One of the locations that I noticed on there was Leakey, Texas. I'm about 30 miles as far as the crow flies, but I'm back in the community, and there's several veterans up here where I live in my community. I'm an ex-Marine, was in the Noriega campaign and back in the early 80s, but it concerns me because of one of the things that was mentioned in one of the articles was that they can use this thing on their own troops. And if they do something like that, Alex, it's going to be, you don't know what the troops are going to do. And it concerns me because being up here, and I've been spreading the word, there was a Uvalde County Real County deputy that's from Leakey, came up here. He's a new deputy, and he said, like, I'm just getting my bearings on the roads up here and stuff like that. And my mother-in-law happened to be, she lives down the road from me, and she said that she asked him about the operation, and he said, well, there's nothing to worry about. It's just regular exercise. And I know better being in the service and what's involved, but
well, if you were part of the Panama invasion, that they did these exact operations for a year beforehand, before they truly invaded. And this is a psyop on the troops, the public, you name it. But just like they tested atomics on the troops, and a lot of them died of cancer later, they are doing the same thing, testing microwave guns, the sound cannons on the military people as well. So the military are the biggest victims And the police are big victims in this as well because they're being psyoped more than anybody else. God bless you, sir, and we appreciate you. We're going to go to break and come back with more calls, but here's what the system's most afraid of. And we're going to create a section on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. We're going to create a hotline during Jade Helm, but for any other event, because this stuff is just happening everywhere while we speak, not just Jade Helm, that seem to get people's attention because it listed Texas and Utah and Orange County as basically terrorist areas. They're afraid of you, the veterans especially, and just citizens, period. We're all veterans of this globalist takeover, whether we know it or not. I mean, we're in the 21st century Psy war. You're in a war whether you know it or not. They're afraid of you videotaping, you reporting, you putting it on YouTube, you sending it to us. So everybody just get ready, relax. You hear there's drills going on, go out there and cover it. And if there's nothing to hide, they won't threaten you to turn your cameras off, which they do us all the time. We've got a great political cartoon up on Infowars.com on the right-hand side, halfway down, political illustration that really says it all. It shows what looks like about a 1,000-pound man sitting there with the optometrist doctor, who's Rand Paul, and he says, okay, you need to go on a diet. And he's pointing at the site test board. It says cut spending. And the big government creature is saying, Dr. Rand, I'd like a second opinion. And how do we know it's big government? As I narrate for radio listeners, he has a big I heart big government tattoo on his right bicep. And that's what this comes down to. This country, this world is sick. No one can deny that. And then when we sit here and point out things that are blaringly going on, the media either lies or government lies, or they attack us. It's crazy. And so the system isn't trying to fix anything. They're just trying to create bigger crises that give them more power. But they'll lose everything in the end if the crisis gets so big that society and civilization implodes. The globalists think they built this world, and they didn't. Humanity built this civilization, not the parasites. Rob in Oregon, thank you for holding. Then we'll go to Chris and Donna and Lissa and Dennis and others. Go ahead, Rob.
AJ, always a pleasure. Appreciate the time. I know you don't like the thanks, so I won't give it, but give an atta-girl to the wife for keeping you sane enough to keep rolling you out every day to deal with this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty little AJ juniors like me, so thank you for that.
Thank you, brother.
But, hey, quick plug, Oxy Powder. Wow. All I'm going to say is wow. So no stats, nothing like that, but the proof is right there in front of you, so solid on that. But, hey, the real thing, Alex, is I think this country is starting to upset me that I think we need to move the debate from if these things happen to they did happen, like in 9/11, like in Oklahoma City, and start dealing with that end, and maybe move the show to like a strategy point of view. But these police officers on that end, why not police your own? If you're on a basketball team and you got a bad apple or two, you police your own. And they deal with it, and you weed it out that way.
Well, that's the globalist plan, is to try to get bad police chief in place that'll further federalize, globalize, and protect thugs to get the bad people out of there to create corrupt cultures. They want corrupted police departments in many areas so that the bad guys on top are safe. The mafias in government and corporations classically want corrupt cops so they're protected. And once you get a city or town that has that, it degenerates. Once you get a country that has it, it collapses. And so we know where corruption goes.
Yeah, agreed. I just think that if you're awake enough, like we talk about them being one of the most awake groups, they ought to be able to be smart enough to infiltrate this and work it back the other way.
Well, they are. They are. And I mean, some departments are horrible. Some are okay. Some are great. Some have resisted the takeover. Others have gone along with it, but actually haven't played along. I mean, look, our hope lies to some extent with the police, but also our damnation does. Same thing with the military. That's why we obsess on it a lot. It's why the globalists obsess on it. And we shouldn't let the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law Center, both discredited groups that have lost lawsuits and been connected to all sorts of criminal activity, we need to not have them training our police. I appreciate your call. I mean, you want to start somewhere? Start right there. The Southern Poverty Law Center, folks, quarterbacked Oklahoma City. Look it up. Quarterbacked it. Look it up. I mean, I could spend 8 hours on it. A Noble Lie breaks it down. The ADL got caught breaking into police files. They've lost a bunch of lawsuits. They make stuff up. It's a left-wing Israeli front. I mean, it's a foreign operating group in the country trying to demonize anybody that... I'm sick of it. Let's go ahead and talk to Chris in New York. Chris, you're on the air.
Hi, Alex. Thank you. I want to talk about your favorite friend, George Soros.
Oh, yes. What a sweetie pie. You mean the Nazi collaborator that's up and walking around?
Exactly. The loving liberal Nazi. Exactly. It seems that he has his eyes, along with the Clintons, on another country to destabilize. That country is the Dominican Republic. They are trying to push all the undocumented Haitians over to that side.
You know what? This is too important. Stay there. Don't hang up, Chris. I'm not going to cut you off. I meant to cover this a year ago, and then it accelerated. I know about this. I've never been in the Dominican Republic, but I was talking to one of my family members that's in special operations, and he was telling me about what's going on. And I got to think about what I'm going to say here. I don't want to release anything I'm not supposed to, but I'm going to come right back to you on the other side. Absolutely. George Soros is involved with the UN. You can look at a satellite of that island. That on the east is the Dominican Republic, on the west is Haiti. And, of course, it had a different name back when it was a unified island, Hispaniola. We're going to break it down straight ahead.
There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak. Just let me think. I suspect even now, orders are being shouted into telephones, and men with guns will soon be on their way.
It's Chancellor Sutler.
Damn it. Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there?
You designed it, sir. You wanted it foolproof. You told me every television in London.
Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression. And where once you had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity and soliciting your submission.
We need cameras.
How did this happen? Who's to blame? Well, certainly there are those who are more responsible than others. They will be held accountable. But again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror. I know why you did it. I know you were afraid. Who wouldn't be? War, terror, disease. There were a myriad of problems which conspired to corrupt your reason and rob you of your common sense. Fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turned to the now High Chancellor Adam Sutler. He promised you order, he promised you peace, and all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent.
There is a war. There is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the InfoWar. Chris called in from New York. I'm going to go right back to him. But if you want to look at the globalist plan, it isn't that they love poor North Africans. It isn't that they love poor Haitians. It isn't that they love the poor Ukrainians. They will use pre-existing crises to export the crisis, and that's actually a communist technique. I'm not saying the globalists are communists. They just use that technique from the captured country that they're exploiting to the next country they're going to take over. This is just a tactic. And if you go back in the last 20 years, you never hear about this in the news, one of the safest places in the Caribbean, one of the highest standards of living, is the Dominican Republic. A lot of friends and family like to go there, play golf, you name it. I've never been. I want to go. Very inexpensive, but very nice. There are Haitian terror groups, real groups, that kill U.S. military personnel, kill Dominican Republic military, that are constantly running around, engaging in crimes, coming across the fence, and they just hate the prosperity of the Dominican Republic. And if you look at a satellite shot, we'll see if the guys were able to pull this up during the break, because this is impromptu, of the Dominican Republic, of the island of Hispaniola on the east, Dominican Republic, to the west, Haiti. It's green on one side and dead and black on the other. We've got a satellite shot there. Now, if you pull back, you can see the entire island and how this is going on. Haiti is a hellhole, one of the worst hellholes on earth, and then right next to it, you've got a place that's a paradise compared to that. And we can actually show folks a map, if we can, just of the Caribbean, and we'll show the island of Hispaniola itself. So there you have Haiti to the west, and to the east, you've got Dominican Republic. Now, my cousin was there more than 10 years ago on a secret mission, and I can't get into that. He didn't really tell me anything about the mission, but he told me the story of, they said, watch out when you're going back to your hotel. You know, sometimes people try to kill you, and these guys chased him. They were shooting at him. He drove over 100 miles an hour, got away from them, pulled in, and, of course, they had the front door people that looked like bellmen. They really weren't. They pulled out submachine guns, killed the guys that were Haitian right there, water hosed it off, moved it in minutes around, and no one even knew what was going on because their submachine guns had silencers on them. That was just one. I'm always saying, tell me war stories, tell me stories. He goes, I'll tell you one about where I almost got killed in Dominican Republic. And they were doing operations trying to stabilize Haiti. And this is Haiti's response, is two Haitians in a car trying to kill him. So the caller calls in and says, George Soros, Dominican Republic, I know all about it. George Soros and all his useful idiot Hollywood people have gotten hundreds of millions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer money and donations. And the Clintons, it came out in the news last year, have stolen 52%. In fact, pull that up so we get it exact. The Clintons have kept more than half the money that came into their foundation for Haiti for their jet airplanes and hotels and houses. And then the rest of the money goes to politically try to take control of the government of Haiti and then milk the port authorities and the public. So Haiti can't get out of its corruption. But the corrupt of Haiti want to take over the Dominican Republic that is not corrupt in comparison, and they're constantly trying to do it. And so I don't know what angle our guest is going with, but yeah, they're calling the Dominican Republic, that is, I forget the exact numbers, but it's a majority what you'd call Hispanic, and then a minority white, and then a large minority of, quote, black, basically Haitians. And a lot of them are hardworking folks as well, but the Haitians from Haiti that are allied with the government are just in ongoing attacks on the Dominican Republic to take it over, because they have nothing over there because they've already robbed each other. And so now they want to attack the Dominican Republic, and George Soros, I saw articles about this last year, is involved trying to get the Dominican Republic to give money and everything else and to allow large numbers of Haitians come into their country. Or they're racist. See, that's how this is even used on the people in the Dominican Republic that have done nothing to the Haitians. So let's go ahead and go to Chris. Chris, that's my angle. What's your angle on it?
Well, your angle is very accurate. I just want to say that, you know, these people, the Clintons, the Soros, and the Haitian oligarchs, they want to take over the country in DR, and they want to create this new Republic of Hispaniola. That's their solution to the Haitian crisis, to make the whole thing one island. To just, I believe you call it clovet and pivot, something like that.
Yes, that's where you collapse the whole thing into socialism, yes.
Exactly. That's exactly where we're going. And then they can take advantage of everybody, you know, all poor, all messed up, and take control of that natural resources. You know that every country that has oil is always the bad guy in the movie. And the Dominican Republic is filled with oil. You can actually see it coming out of the ground. You don't even have to drill far. So that's the bottom line. They want to take control of the oil that we, as a sovereign nation, have not been able to exploit.
I'm well aware of that. You got natural gas and oil all over that area. Notice Haiti's got it too, but they can't seem to get it out of the ground. It is just amazing, the inside baseball. But, you know, you never hear on the news that in the Dominican Republic, they deal with real Haitian terrorists who shoot military, police, tourists, you name it, trying to destabilize that country. You have to ask yourself, what is wrong with Haiti? Because I know Haiti claims that the Dominican Republic's theirs. I mean, give me a break. It'd be one thing if Haiti had their act together and they were trying to take over and make it a better place. But, I mean, who wants Haiti to run your country?
Well, when they so-called became free in 1805, and then they took control of the island in 1822, reduced 50% of the population in the Dominican Republic, killing everybody who was light-skinned and white, it's just out of control, and they are too corrupt. Unfortunately, their own people do not give a rat's behind about their people. They don't document Haitians. They don't give them a good life. Meanwhile, all the politicians in Haiti are rich. This new president, Matali, he's been there for almost 4 years. He's already filthy rich.
Well, that's what it is. It's just kingpins that want to just rob the next country that isn't corrupt compared to them. Thank you so much, Chris. It's always the same story. George Soros lobbies to stop drilling off the Gulf of Mexico, and that's because he's heavily invested down off of Brazil and other areas, developing those areas. See, it's artificial scarcity. You stop drilling here where you're not invested, that makes this investment go up. That's when Clinton was heavily invested in a Chinese company that owned the other big reserve, the only other big reserve of clean-burning coal in the world, in China. His investment more than doubled in just a few months after he got millions of acres in Utah laid off of access. It's very simple how they run these scams. Donna in Louisiana, you're on the air. Thanks for calling. You're listening on 1310 AM KEZM in Louisiana. Go ahead. Welcome.
Hey, Alex. Just wanted to tell you how much we appreciate everything you do. My sons have been listening to you since they were both in high school. They're now in their 20s. They listen every day. And, of course, now I'm listening to you with them. And I think this is one of the best conversations I've ever heard you have today, because everything coming out of your mouth is gangsters, gangsters, gangsters running everything. And I want to run this past you, okay? You've got police departments and court systems. They started out studying the mob, calling themselves FBI, whatever. They're going to bust the mob, right? The Italian mobsters. Well, they studied them so well, they started taking on their attributes. And now our court system, our police departments have now become the same sociopaths that they declared that were their enemies that they want to destroy. That's why that they are coming after the citizens. And now it's becoming us and them scenario. They've got snitches on the payroll and in exchange for information, and they're so busy, the police departments and the court systems, controlling and manipulating them, the everyday law-abiding citizen like me and you, we get cast to the wolves.
And more, they don't want general prosperity. I mean, countries always have some corruption, but they don't want general prosperity to come off the top. They want to run everything, and they want to raise taxes to shut down prosperity, to make us poor and manageable. That's Cloward and Piven. And that's what they're doing. They want to make us poor like Haitians, make us poor like the Mexicans, make us poor like the Nigerians, as a political tool of control. They want to end a Renaissance economy, the apple of the world's eye, and they want to push us into a conquest, king rat, fascist, controlled model with socialism used as the way to basically condition the public to be dependent.
That's it. Look, I'm living in a tent on 16 acres because the local court here took my husband's name off of a house that he inherited from his parents, gave it to a brother, and denied him his 1/3 share of the money. Both of them refused to sell the house. We moved back from Ohio. We were staying in it just temporarily because they demanded that we pay and fix it up because they had been mowing the yard the whole time for 5 years. Their mother was in the hospital. But the court system, the Ouachita Parish Sheriff's Department, took my husband's name off the house, put one brother's name on it. There were 3. The other 2 were in league together, sold the house out from under him, and we're living in a tent. Because it cost us $15,000.
Did they do that outside of court? They just changed the paperwork?
No, they did it in court. I've got all the paperwork. I can send it to you.
Well, that's pretty bad. But they didn't give him compensation, and his name was on the deed.
Letter, and they sent the letter back to me as if Paul had done something wrong. because we dared to complain that they did it.
Well, it's just a crazy world. It's a crazy world. God bless you, ma'am. I appreciate your call, but you're right. It's gangsterism. People think it's cool to act like thugs and packs of wolves instead of acting like chivalrous men. And because men that are good don't stand up, because the world's so complex, most of them can't figure out how to do it. The enemy is just able to take over. It's a fight between good and evil, and it can manifest through anything. Look at this headline from RT. Utah police now responsible for more homicides than street gangs. And those statistics are out from AFP. Let's talk to Lisa in Colorado. Lisa, thanks for holding.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for taking my call today. I just wanted to bring this to the attention of you and everybody. There is a lot of people that are being discriminated against by national autism organizations for speaking about personal vaccine injury that happened to their child. And basically what's happening is if you even say the word vaccine in any of these national autism organizations, they will tell you don't talk about vaccines. They will censor you.
Well, we're not going to give you any aid. Look, the big breast cancer associations, I mentioned this earlier, but you've experienced it. The autism groups, all of them, are there to control the operation and to get all the money from the runs and the events and the bake sales to get money to, quote, help the veterans, help the autistic, help the breast cancer, never asking why breast cancer is exploding, why autism's exploding, why the veterans aren't being taken care of. Oh, just raise more money to give it to the very groups that are there to manage and control the target group. And so, yes, that's what they do.
And I'll tell you, we are a military family. We have fraternal twins that have autism. Oh. And there is so many people that we have encountered that are active duty military that have autistic children, like our neighbor to the left, our neighbor to the right, the people living behind us. We've all got blue lights on this month for autism awareness because we've all got these autistic kids. Nobody in our families have, any genetics that would link to autism or anything like that.
But they'll tell you it's genetic now that everyone around you has it. And see, it's because veterans on average have had 4 to 5 times, you can pull these numbers up, the vaccines the general public has. And a lot of that gets passed on from the chemical load. They also inject the pregnant wives of GIs or pregnant women in the military. And if the baby survives, still there's going to be a major neurological problems in many cases. We've had the medical doctors on about it. And then they tell you, keep your mouth shut about it. It's truly disgusting that this is going on, but they're not going to be able to hide it forever. The only way they can is by controlling the advocacy groups, just like they have the Veterans of Foreign War groups will get mad if you talk about the troops being treated bad, or if you talk about the troops not being given medical treatment, or if you talk about troops having a 3-fold increase in deformities if they've been around DU and their babies. And boy, I tell you, they will cancel speakers. They will kick you out of most of these Veterans of Foreign War groups because they'll put an operative who's there getting paid to suppress the troops and who is putting reports out to the FBI on every member of that VA. And people will wonder why they're part of the Veterans of Foreign War group in their little town or city, why it seems like the VA knows everything about you, or knows when you shoot your mouth off when you're having beer or whatever, and why your guns got taken, because it's nothing but an enemy operation at the top spying on you with HUMAT. Go ahead.
Well, even on posts like the doctors, they'll say, well, we don't know what causes autism, but we know it's not vaccines. And they'll kind of laugh about it. It's really, really sad.
That's meant to make you feel small. Fluoride hurting you? Oh, 1 in 50-something's got it now? Oh, you don't like Obamacare kicking you off your health plan and doubling your price? That's all PSYOP, and they're all involved, all in a conspiracy of the system, because they wouldn't have their job the minute they did the right thing. So they get into the fraud and convince themselves it's okay because they're such moral cowards. They're not even consciously evil. I'll be back live in studio this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Special Ops veterans groups have launched counter Jade Helm operation. We've spent a few days looking into these groups. Several of the groups look very legitimate with legitimate people involved. We don't know about the others. And I'm saying that because I've covered these drills they don't want covered before. And I've made films about it. We have it on tape. The military going around house to house saying, don't talk to us in Florida, and trying to set us up, and our hotel room broken into, and a guy jumping out trying to set fires, saying we did it, who we later saw with the Army. I mean, it gets crazy. So I need to tell everybody, if you go out and individually cover this or just videotape it, you should be fine. But if you actually get approached by groups you don't know, this is what this is all about with the plainclothes military they're going to have out there practicing engaging the American people. And again, they're going to have thousands of different sub-scenarios going on over 2 months. Different drills, scores of drills every day in 10 states. So there'll be hundreds of different things done each week over 2 months. So that's thousands and thousands. So that's part of the PSYOP. But if you run into the real stuff where they're practicing rounding people up or raiding gun stores or setting up checkpoints and taking guns, I mean, if you might catch the troops really pulling people out of cars on the side of a highway. I mean, you may catch a whole highway shut down with troops aiming guns and dragging people out by their hair, and then they'll have like some special ops guy throw a smoke grenade at the regular military to see what happens. I mean, helicopters crashing into buildings, and that happened in Houston and fell 12 stories, killing people. I mean, and it won't be on the news when it happens. Soldier of Fortune covered that, though, when the helicopter crashed. I mean, I've had them pull guns on me. Well, I put my hands up. Mike Hansen started arguing, when I'm an Army veteran, this is America. And they're just like, I'm going to shoot you if you don't give me that camera right now. And Mike's like, I don't care what you do. So they just grabbed him and took his camera away. To Mike's credit, he's just, I put my hands up. Mike just got in their face and kept filming. Because he was so angry that they would do that to him in San Antonio when the police chief had already thrown him out. So I'm telling you, folks, I am a veteran of this, of covering it. And we had our reporters shot with rubber bullets and gas and the rest of it up in Ferguson for no reason. This is much more dangerous if you run into one of their real operations they don't want you to know about. I mean, the unannounced stuff will be practicing taking over the Capitol. I would guess that's going to be done, unless the state says no, which the governor may. They'll practice taking over courthouses, or you'll be at a picnic at the side of the lake, and troops will march up, and they'll see if the troops will search you. And it's to test the troops and see if they'll do outrageous crap. So I'm not against the troops. This is a PSYOP on them, number one, the local government, number two, the public, number three. That's the PSYOP, in order. But now this article just broke. Special Ops veterans groups have launched counter Jade Helm operation. Paul Joseph Watson, Joe Biggs contributed to the report. Let's just add Joe Biggs' name to the report. That's a Paul Joseph Watson, Joe Biggs report. Great job, Paul Watson, being such a prolific, quick writer on his feet to get that done in just a few hours. Doing a great job. His article on our censorship, the Homeland Security saying we can't cover Jade Helm and refusing to let us be part of the press pool. That's up on Infowars.com and DrudgeReport.com right now. Briefly, we have a limited run. It'll be sold out for a month. We have the Child Ease with 20-plus known ingredients that don't drug your child, but just calm them, focus them, you name it. It works on adults as well. It's just a classical, concentrated formula at a low price, 4 ounces of it. It's a good-sized bottle, InfoWarsLife.com, and your purchase supports the broadcast, so try it out today. I mean, it's just amazing what it does, InfoWarsLife.com. You know, I talk about the fact that when we're in the news, if it isn't pertinent to the general public and the general freedom, I don't cover it. Let's not exaggerate. Probably over 100 articles a day the last week. I mean, Newsweek, Time, Bloomberg, AP, Reuters, just the local paper. I mean, people call me, did you see her in the paper? No, I didn't see I'm in the paper. I don't care. I mean, I expect to get enemy flak. I'm flying into the flak cloud. I don't really look at each tracer going by me. I just want to get over the target and drop these bombs. And then go back, land again, reload, and go back in. That's the mission. I'm already resigned to whatever comes. But sometimes you can learn from the attack how to defeat the enemy. So coming up after I take more calls, White House-run Media Matters, which, again, will put out the article today. By tomorrow, I predict 50 to 200, 50 low-end, high 200 news articles with these quotes, because they're the boss. They're a low-rated website and hardly get visited and tell lies about people and, you know, make stuff up, but meet with the White House Weekly and are run by them and George Soros. So George, the mouth of Sauron, the mouth of Soros, confronted about Alex Jones, Rand Paul tries to downplay their alliance. Then you actually read his quote. He doesn't do that. I don't care, though. I don't think Rand Paul should throw me under the bus. I think he should own being a patriot and own being a libertarian. But if he does and decides to go that route, I don't care. I mean, you know, I've met enough famous people and done enough stuff where I really don't get off on famous people saying how great I am. In fact, it's better for me if I'm attacked. I told Politico a few years ago when he won the Senate, I said, don't you get it? The way to defeat Rand Paul is to endorse him. You're hated. You're out of bullets. I mean, I hate to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I mean, if you people strike me down physically, I don't want to die. I'm selfish, but God's got mysterious ways of working. I'll be around for a long time and a lot bigger and more powerful. And everything I've said will be more powerful. Can you imagine? That's when people will really mine everything I've said. And we'll go in and compare it to what happens. So you want to throw me in that briar patch? Go ahead. Go ahead. I am not worried about it. At least I'm not a coward like you. But, man, they are really going crazy right now. Here's Bloomberg and then the Media Matters article. And if you type in Alex Jones, Rand Paul, and click Google News, I mean, hundreds of stories the last few days. And if you change the search, hundreds more come up. So I don't, used to Google would list the total number as in hundreds or thousands under it. They don't do that now, so it's hard to tell. But how would President Paul handle the media anyway? And then it goes into Alex Jones. In fact, go to Google, type in Alex Jones, Rand Paul, click News, and then see, I mean, Fox News, Bloomberg, Ring of Fire, Think Progress, Alternet, Media Matters. I mean, you just cannot keep track. MSNBC, you just cannot keep track because they don't give the actual number anymore. Salon, Think Progress, London Independent, the Counter Journal, the Courier Journal. I mean, it's hundreds. It's hundreds. And they're great. Whatever. And if they could only get him to turn against his base, to turn against his father, to turn against the truth, then he won't have the appeal. There's a reason in every major poll he's leading the pack. People want the radical. They want the George Washington. They want the Paul Revere. They want the games to stop. That's why the media always says, the dinosaur enemy media always goes, work with the system, moderate, be sweet, be quiet, and then they'll give you some little job in the system. I was offered millions of dollars by major networks 18 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Guess what? I haven't been offered that money in a long time because they know I'm not selling out to you. Plus, I got all the money anyways without selling out, and I put it back into the operation. That's how God works. See? Did it my way. History's passing in front of your eyes. The future destiny of our republic and the world is being decided. The robot, smart grid, driverless car, hell system is being released. We've got to resist this incremental system. We've got to become conscious of it. We've got to start voting with our actions, voting with our prayers, voting with our dollars, voting with our will to say no to this New World Order operation. Breaking at Infowars.com, red-linked. Special Op veterans groups have launched Counter Jade Helm Operation. Initiative will observe the attempted infiltration of our towns. It's been going on forever. And again, this is to find out which police departments will go along with the federal takeover. Then they compromise them and pay them off. A lot of these, you notice, are in key drug routes to get them involved in narcotics trafficking. This is how they infiltrated Mexico. Patriot groups across the country are preparing to launch a Counter Jade Helm operation to keep tabs on controversial U.S. military exercises that some fear is part of a preparations for troops to train for civil unrest and martial law. And it's an excellent article by Paul Watson he put together quickly as this developed. But I want to now have some of our other writers or Watson add the special report we did in there, proof that Jade Helm is a martial law takeover preparation. We need to let folks understand why we're concerned about this and show them some of the history, but that just went up on Infowars.com. We'll have Joe Biggs in here with more details at the bottom of the hour. And I'm going to tie it into what I mentioned. New Ford car automatically obeys speed limit. This on the heels of news media everywhere calling for pilotless planes because the pilots all might be killers who want to fly them into the ground. One pilot out of hundreds of thousands over the last 60, 70 years does this. He's on a Prozac drug, as we predicted. Wasn't hard. Gee, no one ever did this before. I bet he's on a drug that makes you do it. Oh, he was. Oh, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I was right again. Right again. Right again. Right again. Oh, well, let's just not say we're right again. You can type in, was pilot on psychotropics or antidepressants the day it happened. The next day, Watson found where he was under psychiatric care and says, I bet he's on it. And then the next day, we confirm he was first. And then the next day, mainstream media was forced to report it. When I went on Piers Morgan, and I said, these are suicide mass murder pills that you got to blame these school shootings because I don't know of a non-gang-related shooting. And most of the shootings at schools are that. Gang members shooting each other, 18-year-olds with mustaches. It's not a school shooting. It's a gang shooting. The others are always someone on serotonin reuptake inhibitors and generally speed, one of those speed drugs that they give the kids. And I've told the story. I do not use hard drugs, but I have tested and experimented. I've smoked marijuana maybe once a year to see how strong it is. Let me tell you, that stuff's really strong nowadays. About 15 years ago, took a pill that one of my... I have some friends that are parents of a child that were trying to put on it. And I forget the name of it. I've said the story before. What's the speed pill I took one time? It's not Ritalin. What's the other one?
Adderall.
Adderall. I took one Adderall, folks. And I act like this without coffee. I drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee like I have today. Look out, I'm like Coffee Man from Beavis and Butthead. I took that and couldn't sleep for a day and then was the biggest jerk for 2 days after. I took a child's dose of it and couldn't handle it. Can you imagine what they're doing to our children? It's incredible. And yeah, it makes hyper kids behave better because you burn their brain out. Anybody that knows speedheads know they're a bunch of jellyfish after they've been on it a while. But I'm digressing. I want to go to your phone calls ahead of breaking all this down. Let's go to Dennis in Ohio. Thanks for holding, Dennis.
Good afternoon, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's just a crazy world.
Yes, sir. I'm calling in reference to the possible candidates who will be running for president, especially Rand Paul. I don't know if you are like me, but as I was growing up, I took a lot of advice from my father, and I did a lot of things that my father told me. Now, realizing who Dr. Paul is, libertarian in every sense of the way, if Rand Paul was to become president, does he realize if he were to do what everybody would hope to God he would do, is in the Federal Reserve, what the consequences would be? Because if you go through history, let's go back to the time of Jesus.
Sure, you're a great caller, but your phone is the worst I've ever heard. Can you get closer to the receiver?
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the time of Jesus. The priest in the temple put him to death because he went against the money changers, which is basically what this is all about. Anybody who's ever challenged the money changers has either almost been assassinated or assassinated. And this is almost assassinated Andrew Jackson. And when Ronald Reagan was...
No, listen, I totally hear you, but your phone is just too bad. You're a great caller. It's great points. They could kill Rand Paul, or they can blame the collapse of the economy on him. That'll be right in time for 2016. So why try to elect him? Because justice be done, may the heavens fall. You don't know what's going to come out of this at the end of the day. I don't think Rand Paul's going to save the country. I don't think I'm going to save the country. I don't think Ron Paul is. I don't think Judge Andrew Napolitano is. But all of us being concerned and involved and saying no to tyranny and countering the propaganda will turn the tide in a better way. The waves won't crush everything. We'll have a softer landing. And we have to put out the idea of going back to true freedom, back to rule of law, back to true free market, and expose that what we have now destroying our prosperity is not that. Because the system is scapegoating free market, capitalism, the family as our problems. Well, no, as we leave that, our problems only get worse. And so we live in a system where, as bad as we know things are, I didn't know for 6 months that they were bringing in tens of thousands of illegals a week and paying to bus them in, and that the Border Patrol was chaperoning them and paying. We, of course, broke that, but we didn't know for 6 months. The Border Patrol didn't contact us first. They contacted a bunch of people who wouldn't go with it. So-called conservative talk show host. Now, same thing with Ebola. It's come out on the East Coast. They've had more Ebola cases and have covered it up. It's come out in AP, in CBS News, in Forbes, and a bunch of other places that there have been more Ebola cases and they covered it up. I never said it was an epidemic pandemic here in the U.S. was going to kill everybody. I said they're covering it up, and if they can cover it up, they can do that for other things. But see, we didn't know that the borders were wide open. We knew they were partially open, not wide open. We didn't know that Ebola was spreading. And they were, but it still is, and they're covering it up. Until we sent Jakari Jackson and Don Salazar and Kit Daniels down to the border, and they're talking to this ICE guy in his pickup truck, blurring out his voice. And he says, listen, go here today. This is when the buses arrive. They arrive every day in McAllen. And we load them on and give them their vouchers, and then the city takes care of it. And we're there, and there's the city emergency manager, Mr. Pagan. There he is on screen, explaining it all. I mean, it's just boom. And it's the same thing here. What am I getting at? We don't know what else is going on. Can you imagine if they have a disaster at CERN where their own scientists admit it could create a black hole or a strangelet? It's already made black holes, but the black hole could get out of control and start sucking everything in, get more mass. They say one of these microscopic black holes, if it was just able to pull in the mass that's, say, in the head of a pin, that could give it enough mass to then start pulling in the building. And when it pulled in the building, there would just be a crater and a hole, and it would compact down to something smaller than a grain of sand, and it would go right to the center of the Earth. There'd be an explosion. And then they estimate, just from one equation I saw in a mainstream article a few years ago, I forget where, that it might take up to 14 days with that black hole down there sucking in the Earth because of the mass. And then all of a sudden, just like in the Star Trek movie before last, where they send in the black hole matter to the core of the planet and implodes in about an hour, that's exactly what scientists believe it'll look like. And they're doing experiments right now that they admit could create a black hole that gains mass, or a strangelet that's just as bad, and we're all dead. And there'll be a black hole in the solar system that will then suck the sun in, if its mass is big enough, and then suck everything else in around it. How many civilizations out there do you think have done similar things? You know, the old legend of Atlantis. Plato said it was real. Plato, he was not a fiction writer. The top globalists of today follow Plato. He's the guy that built the modern world we're in. He's the kingpin. Plato said it was real, and he said they created an energy source that powered everything. It's in his book, The Republic. And that they had lights at night, and that they had ships that went, super fast, and flying machines, and the island out in the Atlantic blew up. The energy source blew up and blew Atlantis into the sky. I don't know if it's true, but you know what? We've got 1,000 different Atlantean crises going right now. And the elite are doing everything they can like they are a interdimensional force of demons, flipping every switch wildly, trying to blow the planet up like a bunch of wild monkeys. I mean, it is just crazy. That's all I'm saying. We'll be back. Luke Lucas in Arizona. Then Joe Biggs is going to be in here with breaking Jade Helm news. Lucas, thanks for calling in today from Arizona. You're on the air.
Hello, sir.
Welcome.
Hi. I was calling in because I wanted to let you guys know about these new auto tellers that I saw at Chase Bank. I really didn't think anything of it. Of course, I thought it was just kind of a robotic rollout. You know, it's just another system to take jobs. And, of course, there's all the financial collapse stuff. But then in Overdrive yesterday, there was that gentleman who called in and said that he had seen a document that had talked about how, or had referenced the idea that Chase Bank is, endgame compliant and fortress ready and whatnot. And that's when it kind of clicked in my head, and I was like, oh, so they can just
And by the way, that guy did send us that document. We haven't done a report on it yet, but we are. With Jamie Dimon, telling his people, get ready for Fortress and Endgame and prepare for economic collapse, basically. And then separately, he was in the news saying similar things that day in the Financial Times of London. Tell me about these tellers, Lucas.
Exactly, and that's why I was saying these auto tellers, they're just like a regular, or it's kind of like an advanced ATM. It's got a touch screen. It's very friendly. It has a giant camera on it, of course.
Would you like a pill? I'm sorry.
Exactly. It gives you an exact... No. It looks exactly like that. It's kind of like what they would use for a medical bot or anything else. It's kind of like a universal robotic teller, and it gives exact change. It takes deposits. It does all these things.
Does it talk in an NPR voice? Just take the injection. All the pain will be over. Ooh, liberal. Ooh. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. It doesn't talk to you in the voice that the automatic cashiers talk to you in. I always love that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I sent you guys some pictures of them, so you might be able to include them in your report. But I think it really goes to the idea that, these are the systems that they're going to be rolling out very soon so that we can all, once again, be denied our money when they go for the bail-in. It stops them from having a bank run, of course, because how can you get your money out if you can't talk to a human being now?
Exactly. We're not against computers and robots. It's that it's being designed by the globalists who have an architecture to end our civilization and control us in their own words. I mean, who wants a car that doesn't let you drive above the speed limit and reports back to the police and the insurance company and everything and taxes you by the mile, and it's all being announced? It's coming. It's here in many areas. Austin, for 4 years, has a program where they tax you by the mile under the feds. I mean, it's happening. And then they give you tax incentives where you can't live without accepting these systems at first. Then they make them ubiquitous. That's the plan.
Exactly. And basically they rolled these things out in September of 2014. That meeting that they had, that you guys had gotten a memo about, because I remember you reported on it that day, actually. I went down there and I talked to them, and it turns out that those meetings are fairly, they do those all the time. But at this meeting specifically, they were rolling out these new tellers. I mean, the thing has been in there for a couple months, and they're basically testing it. They've got 8 all over the Valley metro area. I haven't seen the other 8 because I don't use the other chases, all the way off on the other end of the valley. But I know that they're out there, and basically it's obviously a test. They're going to test them. They're going to roll them out, and then when things get really bad, they're going to shut you down. And they're telling people in these memos. They're right there. It's like, because it's like you said, if you know the Fortress system, if you have the idea about the end game. Well, what is all of that? What's the worst thing that can happen to a bank in the end game? Well,
sure, there's an article about it. Chase cannot find a human being to read a check, and then it goes over it. And it's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. God bless you. Good to hear from you. Robert in Florida, let's jam you in before we go to break. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex. It's nice to finally speak with you.
Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. I just have 2 things to say, and 3 maybe if you give me the chance. I just want to be brief. And the first thing is, I'm being in a sense, and I think you probably sensing it as well, that just talking about it, it's a good thing to get the word out, but I think there's enough people that know something's going on, regardless of whether they've heard of you or not. But I think the time has come that we need to go to Washington, formulate a new Continental Congress, just as the founders did, and that's the only way to really make any move on our part and submit grievances, submit our complaints, give a grace period for them to address it, and see what happens. And the second thing I want to say, I just want to be brief. I don't want to pump your head up, but if you keep doing what you're doing, I mean, you will be among the newest of the founding fathers with, Noam Chomsky.
Look, stay there.
We're on the march.
Robert, I want to briefly talk about a new Continental Congress with you, then Joe Biggs. Don't hang up.
Radio
we'll
Network.
go to everybody else, too. All right, who are we just talking to? I guess Robert in Florida. After Joe Biggs leaves us, we'll talk to Kevin and Sarah and Bob and David and folks that have been patiently holding. David listening on KGSO 990 AM in Louisiana. Before we go any further, I get this call a lot. We need a new Continental Congress. We need to take Washington back. 3 years ago, I wrote a new Declaration of Independence that actually got picked up and got a lot of attention. And we had a bunch of constitutional lawyers come on the left and right and say, no, that's a really good plan, because that's basically what the founders did. We want to re-upload the Republic, because we can abolish the government and create a new form. Well, we've got a new form, the globalist. We want the Republic back, the model of freedom worldwide. Doesn't mean we ever lived up to it, but it was certainly a great system compared to others. They've had Continental Congresses that I was invited to go speak to. They had a lot of prominent people, like up at Jekyll Island, Georgia, where the Federal Reserve met at that hotel. Well, they rented it out into the same thing. It's kind of a, hey, you killed the country here, we're bringing it back here. You need to get governors and legislators and top prominent people and war heroes, from the French and Indian War, like George Washington. You need to get those type of people at a constitutional Congress. And I wouldn't even expect to be at one of those. I'm more like a writer exposing what's happening, like a Patrick Henry, if you want to make those parallels. And I'm not comparing myself to Patrick Henry. I'm just simply saying I'm there to show people the problem and to be a watchdog on the new Republic as well. And there was certainly fights that came in there. But march on Washington, have a con-con. If you look at the architecture of the John Warren Defense Authorization Act and all these preparations and the admissions of where the feds are trying to take over state governments and trying to block states like Texas when they said we're going to ban the TSA groping kids, and Obama threatened an air blockade using F-16s. That was mainstream news. That's what their whole system's against, is the states recognizing that the federal government's been taken over and is illegitimate, run by foreign banks, reconstituting the states, voting to declare the federal government illegitimate and having an emergency reorganization. Reverting to the senators being elected by the legislatures. So they're creatures of the states. Bringing balance between federal and state-backed true federalism. The Democrats push federalism as if the feds run everything. That's not what federalism is. We have the opposite of our federal republic. We have a district of criminals, itself captured, running us like colonies. We're right back where we were in 1775. And if they come for the guns like 1775, it starts over again. History repeats itself. It's happening. So to answer your question, I don't speak 6 languages in Latin, and I didn't invent over 1,000 things, and I'm not a war hero, and so I'm not one of the founding fathers. Amongst historians all over the world, they say the founders were an exceptional group of people. They were as good as it gets, and that's why we have this country. They were the flower of the Renaissance. They were the best. And they weren't perfect, but let me tell you, they were, back then being a rock star was being able to speak 6, 7 languages, being able to invent things, and be very polite, go out in the road if somebody talked bad to you, and just say, get your gun, we're going outside and going to have a duel. A bunch of the founding fathers died or won duels. I mean, we're not like that today. You were rude to me. You were just rude to me. Let's go outside. Let's kill each other right now. But it wasn't because they were macho. They were super polite. But, oh, you want to act tough? Let's go kill each other right now. I mean, that was a totally different group of people, folks, than what we are today. If you lied to someone back then, they would come after you. Totally different group of people. So I don't compare myself to that, but I've studied that. And I guess in our mutated form, I guess you could say I'm a 21st century version of one of those people. The point is that we haven't reached that level yet. We need to have the state start having serious hearings about this, put out resolutions. We need to have leaders at the state level come together and call for a summit, a pre-event. And believe me, that's the type of thing the globalists would bomb that. But then that would blow up in their face as well. I mean, this is serious. And I want to go to Joe Biggs in here with breaking news. But, Robert, do you get where I'm going with all this from Florida?
convey one thing. You have enough followers, and there's enough people. There's millions of people. All that needs to happen is a freedom march. Just not nothing to take back Washington, but just pitch tent in front of the White House, pitch tent in front of the Senate building, and say, look, we want the fluoride out. We want the nukes. Oh, we want the nukes. We want that out. We want the instigating a war, Russia. We want all these grievances addressed within a grace period. A week or two. And you're really downplaying yourself. I mean, you're confident. Don't get it wrong. You are a modern day founding father, but the job isn't done. We can all have the possibility and the potential to be founding fathers. We just need to create a freedom march in remembrance of MLK and get up there and pitch tent. And that's the only. And we need to do this before Jade Helm fully kicks off.
No, I hear you. Listen. I appreciate you, and God bless you. Listen. If we try to march on Washington, they would A, ignore it, or B, put provocateurs in. If we started trying to camp on the White House lawn, they'd start arresting people. Then if they start shooting, we start shooting, 1776 starts again. I'm just saying it's a more sophisticated world today. And we need to get the legislatures going. We need to take the states back. That's where the real fight is. The focus keeps coming on the captured D.C. command base. We have to explain to people that they would basically just astroturf us and have a bunch of people show up saying we were racist or something. That's how they dumb things down. We have to first take the states back, and then that's the body to then move against the occupied government. We do need to have people camping out at the state houses instead of the socialists. We do need to take that back, and I agree with you, a lot of great ideas. If you look at where the enemy preparations are, it's to stop legislatures from not complying with the illegitimate feds. It's for the military to take over legislatures in major cities. They're worried about the legitimacy of elected governments finally saying no, the feds being arrogant, not having support, and they want to march the feds in like it's Eisenhower putting little black girls in Arkansas schools. No. It'll be the opposite of that. But that's how they're going to bill it. And that's why they want to get us race warring and fighting with the local police ahead of all this so that never happens. The entire enemy plan, the occupier plan, the Vichy French occupier program is all built around a states movement to restore the republic. And the rest of the plan is then built around demonizing and drugging and hurting the veterans because they're worried about a core group who's ready to fight because they've canvassed them and they know they're awake. So you look at the enemy attack profile to see what they're scared of. You go to Media Matters, you go to the enemy publications, who are they attacking? This show. Because we've studied history, we know their operations, we know who they are, we know how to beat them. Here is the internal Jamie Dimon document. I'm going to cover that in Overdrive today, where he talks about they're ready to go into their fortress takeover. They've already taken over countless countries. They've done this over and over again. They know what they're doing. So we have to counter them with things that we know they know can defeat them. Joe Biggs joins us. Last week, he called and sent emails to the National Guard because they've got the National Guard overseeing a lot of this Northcom, Southcom operation. And, of course, he's a former staff sergeant in the military overseas and domestically, so he has a lot of contacts, and I've had Joe overseeing a lot of our Jade Helm reporting. National Guard blocks InfoWars reporters from covering dirty bomb exercise. Captain cites nature of previous work as reasons for denial. Well, so if you don't like what we have to say, then we're not allowed to be there. Well, a lot of this is in public, so you can't stop us. But they'll have cops come up and say, under them, going, where's your press pass? First Amendment. I'm going to need you to come over here. Now, officer, you know you've lost lawsuits, and you can't make me not report. I'm not interfering with what you're doing. Just, are you trying to stop us from reporting? But that's where this is going. And then now the new article, Special Ops Veterans Groups have launched Counter Jade Helm Operation Initiative will observe the attempted infiltration of our towns. And this is to assess the local police and governments to see if they'll go along with a larger takeover and to begin these relationships. That's why many of these operations are very legitimate to deal with a dirty bomb, which, again, will probably be set off by the establishment, or to deal with a chemical plant blowing up. But behind that are the Delta Force people and others who are specialists at going into third world countries and in a year buying off almost every town and city official with huge satchels of cash or gold. And they've done this all over the U.S. since the days of Clinton. And if you don't believe me in your mainstream media, I know you won't search it, look up Associated Press, San Antonio, 1999, Alex Jones, Ale Philippus. You'll read the whole operation. We blew wide open. And they got so mad, folks, they had special operations people threatening me in parking lots, grocery stores, you name it. You know, coming up to me going, you better watch your butt. We're going to kick your ass. You know, you better stop messing with us. And I would just say, okay, you're big tough guys. Go ahead and attack me then. And then they left me alone. But I'm telling you, folks, this isn't a game. Now, Joe Biggs is here with us. Joe, you've been on this. Let's get into them saying that, oh, you're not welcome at this exercise, and then going into the big news that you vetted and checked some of the sources. They're going to have a lot of special ops people, former, actually out there identifying these guys in these towns where they're practicing these infiltrations and exposing them. Joe Biggs.
Well, the big issue is with the National Guard blocking us from coming out there is the fact that they said we wouldn't give fair coverage. Now, what I thought was fair coverage was both someone who agrees with you and someone who disagrees, to get both sides of the story. So who deems whether or not something is fair coverage? I mean, they're that scared to have us come in and report on what it is we see, talk about the truth. They just want some, you know, lame reporter to come in there and just read off of a script. Well, we don't do that.
Well, we were supportive in Ferguson of the police overall because it turned out it was the crowds throwing bottles at them and the media, even though they attacked you guys. Yeah. We were still overall. I mean, we just report what really happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what fair coverage is going out and just giving your honest opinion about what you see, looking at it, filming it, documenting it, writing it down. And the fact that this guy is going to tell me, oh, well, after viewing your body of work and the people that you associate with, you know, i.e. Alex Jones, we don't want you here. You know?
Well, that's how the White House press corps is. If you ever ask a mean question or a hard question, you're not invited back. That's how you become a whore press.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. And on to this Jade Helm thing, I have been, you know, looking into this since day one, since we broke the story. And over the past week or so, I would say, we have began to see people standing up and saying, you know what, we're going to do a counter Jade Helm operation. We're going to stand up and do what we can to go out there and essentially try our best to point out these guys who are, you know, going to be doing these operations. These are former Special Forces, Navy SEAL, Delta guys who are willing to go out there and counter this whole operation. I think that's great. But another thing we talked about off air, you know, it's going to be infiltrations, of course. Stuff like that will happen. People will try to go in there, sabotage this movement. But there's
well, yeah, I mean, they'll claim they're with us, and I've seen them try to set a fire in Brooksville and blame me.
Yeah.
I had to stomp the fire out and then get the guy to stop doing it.
I mean, you know the story is huge. You know this is something that's real when you're getting a large amount of people to finally just get up off their butt.
I was about to say, this may be something bigger the way they freaked out about it. We always report on these. Yeah. Why are they freaking out so bad?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're hitting us from every angle. You know, every news source out
Maybe
there.
It's bigger than we thought. I mean, why do you think they're freaking out?
I mean, like I said, that one guy that I know that worked in PSYOPs at SOCOM, the one that he said that, hey, you're messing up our PSYOP, he also said that this is a much bigger story as well.
He said PSYOP to you.
Yeah. I mean, he said, you're not even seeing the entire picture of what this really is. And he wouldn't go into any further details. I mean, it could be a lot bigger than what we think it is. But these different...
It is huge. It is one of the...
These different operations are launching all over the U.S. These small little...
and they're launching in other than the 10 states. It's not just there.
Like you said, it's almost like a, hey, look at this. We'll bring reporters to this operation. But for some reason, they're not launching any kind of thing like, all right, you guys, come out here, get a press pass, come to this Jade Helm. They're doing it between the hours of 12 and 4 a.m., which, honestly, that's when you go out and do shady stuff. You know, they're going out, flying in helicopters, performing snatch and grabs. I mean, this is out of control. And it's great that we're going to get awake veterans who have this kind of training in special operations, in PSYOP, in all of this, to be able to go out and try to call these people out and say, you know what?
I agree. Let me ask you a question. If they pull guns on me and Mike Hansen in San Antonio and try to set fires in Florida and blame us, and that was under Clinton, what's going to happen if they try that on former Special Forces people? This could get nasty. Yeah. I mean, because if they do that to me, who they know is nonviolent and is nice, where do they get off thinking they can do that in America?
You know, if it gets to that point, I think, like you said, the 1776 will commence. People will, everything will flip over. And I think that a lot of people will start waking up.
Well, that could be the PSYOP, too. They could be hoping to stir this up, and they knew that we'd report on it. And they now countering us gives it more attention, and then it blows up, and then something goes wrong. Or they could false flag us, Joe, and claim patriots attacked them.
Yeah, and blame it all on us. Just because we brought this to the surface.
Well, they keep telling police for about 6 years, you will be attacked by veterans. You will be IED. The Civil War is coming. And there's no evidence of a Civil War.
Well, the funny thing is all these sheriffs in all these towns in Texas are coming out with the same script answer. Well, we think this is going to be a very good exercise for the military. We support the military and all their operations, and we want to welcome them to Texas. I mean, I've already read like 5 different sheriffs throughout Texas.
That lets you know it's all scripted.
Yeah, it's the same, just boring answer every time. Scripted, BS, no, it didn't come from them. Someone handed them a piece of paper and they just went off of it. It's a joke. They know that something's going on. These guys are trying to help out.
Well, why do they call Texas and all these places hostile? It's like they meant to punch our buttons. Again, folks, we don't know all the answers. We're just wargaming what's happening here. But more and more, I think this may be bigger than we thought. It may actually be bad.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, there's supposed to be a website that's going to be launched as well where people can post videos of people that they, you know, call out as spec ops that are walking through their towns. People are going to be posting videos, pictures, and all this kind of stuff for this operation. You know, myself, I'm willing to go out there as well.
Well, we're going to create a hotline and a special email, jadehelm@infowars.com. It's not live yet, jadehelm@infowars.com. And we don't have a big crew here, but we'll try to be a clearinghouse to send us videos, intel, reports. If you got family that are police and they say the big drill, you know, where helicopters are going to attack government buildings or something is, you know, happening in 2 nights, let us know, and then we'll be pre-placed there to get it on tape. I've done that once before. That's when they pulled guns on us, though.
Well, the weird thing is, though, is, you know, the military's coming at us. You know, Army Times, the military websites, all that are coming after us, you know, saying that we're basically like anti-military. But the funny thing is the people who are willing to stand up and actually see what's going on are all former veterans who fought for their country, who bled for their country, who had friends die in combat fighting for the freedom of speech.
And they know this is, in fact, what are the veterans in these groups saying? Why are they upset about Jade Helm? What are they saying it is?
Because they say they see what it is. They can see behind the curtain. Just like when you read that document when we first broke it.
It says it's to win our hearts and minds in America.
Yeah, it's all BS. It's the same propaganda we push over in theater, in combat. It's the same crap that we use over there. They're bringing it from Afghanistan, and they're trying to install it here in America.
Wow, this is huge. I want to hear what they're saying when we come back and your phone calls. Just like Uber is bringing taxi companies that are corrupt and out of control to their knees all over the country. Most big taxi companies are mafia-controlled in major cities. That's been in 60 Minutes. They can't deal with Uber. Uber's got its own problems, its own globalist head. But Joe Biggs was just saying there in the break, a cop got caught stealing somebody's rent money on tape. How do they get away with this, and how do they think they're going to get away with it? It's the same thing. Technology has all these unforeseen things that the establishment thinks it's going to do one thing, it's going to do another. And they can't stop us from exposing what's happening. And it's not going to happen. I'm going to go to Overdrive and talk to David in Louisiana, Kevin in California, and others. Joe Biggs finishing up. You're going to be reporting on this on the Nightly News tonight. And we're going to have our reporters, Jakari and others, looking to deploy out there with Darren McBreen and others to different areas as this unfolds. But as you said, there are snatch and grab drills going on in Florida, going on all over. It came out in mainstream news in Minneapolis, St. Paul, that there's a secret relationship with the Army and the local police department that they wanted kept secret. They're using anti-terrorism as the pretext to condition everyone to accept this. And just finishing up, what are the special ops former people saying? They're just seeing through this and are upset?
Well, Jade Helm is they live. When you're in the military, it's almost like you're issued a pair of those glasses because they assume that when they bring you into their, elite group that you're going to always be on their side and just follow orders and not go against the narrative that they want. So we've all gotten out. We've seen behind the curtain. We've got the glasses. So when we showed that document that SOCOM put out, we could clearly see the true meaning behind it.
Well, it double talks.
Yeah. Well, it's for the regular civilian people who don't have the They Live glasses on. They just see, this is a neat, trendy, cool little exercise. Yay, America, cool. What they don't see is the underlying meaning behind it in the word usage and all that, how it's put together. Spec Op guys see that, they understand it, and they know that what is happening is complete and total BS. There's more to what the military's saying, and there's proof because they're attacking us. If it was nothing at all whatsoever, they would do nothing at all. They would brush it off, but it keeps getting talked about. Everyone.
That's right. And they'd wait and then run PR drills and say, oh, look, it was friendly decontamination drills at the local high school. Alex is full of bull.
And the fact that we're covering this story, now they're going to block us from going and reporting on these exercises. This is a direct reflection of our reporting on Jade Helm, I bet. The fact that this California National Guard captain is going to block us from going there. I mean, it's ridiculous. They know we're over the target, and they're scared to have someone like us who goes out and actually gives factual reporting to be on their property. This is just the craziest world. I never thought when I was in combat fighting for my country that I would come home to a country that is just so far gone. But
well, the crooks are scared, and they want to get the military to fight the American people, and we're here trying to have an open debate about this because it's not going to happen if we have a debate. We need to arrest George Soros and the Clintons and the New World Order crowd and Jamie Dimon.
Yeah, and stop making action figures of Hillary Clinton, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, they've all engaged in the derivatives fraud. Larry Summers, everybody. Let's not let the crooks take us to the next level, folks. We've already gone far enough down this rat hole. I mean, don't we agree it's time to turn around?
Yep.
I mean, they're saying veterans are the enemy and a civil war is coming. Really, military? Really, PSYOPs? You're going to go along with this?
I mean, I can't even get surgery on my knee or my foot. Yeah, they don't want me to get better. They want my problems to get worse, and they want every other veteran out in America.
And tell folks what happened to your knee and your leg.
Well, my ACL is completely severed. I have no ACL now. I've had so many x-rays, it's just gone, and now my MCL is starting to tear as well.
So I know they put it all... Was that from mortars or the IED or what?
That was in a rollover, my knee. My foot caught under the gas pedal and snapped out. So that happened. Foot, I have ligaments and bone cracked through here. The Army performed surgery on my foot, and it was so crappy that when I went to the VA, the doctor actually did something right that time. He pulled up the x-ray and he goes, oh my God, it's still pretty much broken. So all they've done...
Well, Joe, we're going to cover it all more. I'm going to go into overtime and take some calls. Great job. Let's get on this right now. We ought to do a whole report on them not giving you treatment. How many times have you been there and refused treatment? Like,
for a couple of years.
Wow. Well, yeah, there you go. I want to go to a few calls, but I got to pay the bills around here as well. Child Ease supports calm, focused attention. It works on adults as well. It's 20-plus known organic, concentrated fruit and herb extracts that really does wonders on out-of-control hyper kids in my experience. And it's available at a very low price at InfoWarsLife.com. Your purchase supports the entire transmission. We have the Alex Jones Challenge pack where you can get the 3 nutraceuticals that really help me get back in better shape. The X2, the Oxy Powder, the Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com. I want to thank you all for your support. Let's go ahead now and go to David in Louisiana, listening on WGSO 990 AM. Go ahead. Thanks for holding.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for taking my call. I'm listening on WGSO 990 AM in New Orleans. I've got a radio station in the evenings, and we reiterate this sentiment of that you expressed during your show. My comment was I'd like to see a panel discussion to initiate the battle plan laid out by Robert David Steele as far as the Open Power Electoral Reform Act of 2015. Seeing people like Gerald Celente, Paul Craig Roberts, Lou Rockwell, William Benny, yourself, and others come together and rally all these little factions together to try to initiate the basic plan that Robert David Steele has come up with.
Now, see, what you're saying is a plan. We have to start the proto meetings to figure out a basic model to sell to the states to start. I always thought a con could kill us, but maybe a constitutional convention, the states could take the federal government back and declare it defunct. And the states are lined up to do that. I think we've actually got the votes now. But separately, at the federal level, that electoral reform plan sounds pretty darn good. I mean, we know what we got isn't working.
No, and I don't think that we have the time. I mean, who wants to wait till 2016? 2015 is the time to act. Who wants to wait for another election? We can start sending these letters and occupying the local offices of our congressmen. People don't have to go to Washington, D.C. They can go right in their own city and sit outside until something gets done.
Well, I know this. The government that's illegitimate is gearing up for collapse. They're acting really scared. We should be having a discussion with the general public. What is it they're so scared of? War? Bioweapons? Collapse? I mean, it's just crazy. They're reopening the bunkers. They're building new ones. I mean, you know, I just want to have a good life and a good family and have freedom. I mean, I don't want a civil war. I'm not looking for a fight. I don't want to be, you know, the new George Washington. I just want to stop the craziness. We got a bunch of crazy criminals running things. And if you study criminology, they're mentally ill, folks. They think they're invincible. I run up against so many con men and low-level nuts. They always are so sure of themselves. And I mean, I'm a confident person, but only when I have to be. I'm not confident in that I can do whatever I want. And these people are dangerous. God bless you. Great to hear from you, David. Great job. Plug your radio station. Oh, he's already gone. Let's go ahead and talk to Kevin in California. Thanks for holding.
Hello, Alex. How are you doing?
Good, brother. Go ahead.
Hey, I wanted to bring up the fact that I used to work with a coworker, a contractor for Kaiser Permanente out of the hospital here in Woodland Hills, County of Los Angeles. And he had actually worked with Aaron Alexis, the gentleman who went into the D.C. Naval Yard and shot up a bunch of people.
Who said that he was under ELF attack, yeah.
Right. And he knew this person intimately, not only on a work professional level, but also privately. They were roommates. And they used to go out and hang out together and go dating and things like this. He wasn't the kind of person that the media and
well, I'll tell you what, you've already been holding for an hour, and so is Sarah, Ben, Rich, and Bob. Stay there. I'm going to come back and let you finish your story. Don't hang up, Kevin. And we'll do 15 more minutes or so here. So stay with us. We'll get to all these callers that are currently holding. Those 5 I mentioned. Sorry to anybody else. We'll be right back on the other side. Yeah, that whole Naval Yard shooting was just super phony. I mean, I don't know particularly what really happened there, but the story didn't add up. Plus, it's known liars that run things. Why do we believe any of it? I mean, it's... All right, we're finishing up with Kevin. Says that his friend was roommates with the supposed Naval Yard shooter. I mean, if you followed the Boston bombing, you know the older brother was in a CIA-paid program from Georgetown University, and the Russians blew his cover, and he had a fake passport that Homeland Security let him travel back and forth. I think it was 7 times to Chechnya. And they had nice cars and money and were hanging out. Were they part of a drill? There was a drill. We know there was a drill. They threatened our reporters to shut up, told the media not to talk to our reporters, and the media followed those orders. And then they said the brother killed a cop and did all this stuff. Turned out none of that was true. And the witnesses all said they shot him and killed him. And turned out there was video of it. And then they find the brother and try to kill him and then cut his throat out. And he says he's not guilty. His family says he's set up. The media won't show what the family said exactly, just that they say it's staged. And then his lawyer comes out and says he did it. Well, he did do the murder. He did do the bombing. But we want to say he wants to say he's not guilty. I mean, that's a mistrial right there. So if they ever got me in prison and I'm saying I'm not guilty and you never see me, but my lawyer goes, he says he did it. Turns out she's the same lawyer for other patsies. So finish up with what your friend said about the supposed Naval Yard shooter who supposedly on the side of a shotgun said, my ELF weapon.
Yeah, you mentioned that, called it, this is my ELF weapon. But anyway, he... mentioned to me that he would like to be vetted. He would like to have his story, his contact, because he was a coworker with him. They were both in the military, but he also worked as a military contractor in IT, both of them together, and they were roommates. They hung out together. They went on dates together. Very mild-mannered individual, very cool, calm, collected individual, not somebody who was had a propensity for violence. He wasn't this mindless gamer who sat in front of a PC for 16, 18 hours a day playing video games. None of this was true. None of this was about his true character. He was a very easygoing, fun-loving, individual, and whatever caused him to do whatever he did, the coworker that I worked with that knew him stated something must have been going on with him.
Well, he called the cops 3 times and tried to meet with them and said, they're messing with me, they're mind controlling me. And he was too old to have just become a schizophrenic then. And it came out in the news he had a good record as a government contractor. So he either had a brain tumor, kind of like the UT Tower shooter, turned out had a huge brain tumor. Just he was a nice guy that went completely insane. He had a brain tumor. You're either got a brain tumor or you're on some type of drug when you have a normal life and all of a sudden start acting crazy. Just like this pilot was normal till he got on Prozac type drug. So he was either got on Prozac and went crazy, I would say, or he was like Captain Hansen, who, remember, they set up and put on LSD. That was right there in Maryland. So they've had a lot of weird stuff going on. Who knows? Who knows? We'll put you on hold. You want to give us this fellow's contact info? We'll try to reach out to him. That's why I need to get more reporters. We have great reporters, but they're overworked sometimes. It's like I got a lot of great hitters here. But it's like you got a ball machine shooting a ball every 2 seconds. The best batter in the world can't hit half of those. And we need to get 5, 6 more writers. We don't have the money. That's why it's important to buy the products at InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com. Whether you buy a shortwave radio from us or a high-quality water filter or books or videos or T-shirts or the InfoWars Life products, that's how I can go to the next level and really get even more done. My biggest frustration is it's hard to find good people. I finally got a good crew, and through and through, and it's hard to then cover everything. But with another 6, 7 writers, another 6, 7 physical reporters and camera people, I could really turn the heat up. So just flood our coffers, folks, and we'll do it. InfoWarsLife.com. We'll build it. We know you'll come. We need the funds to do it. Thank you, Kevin. Sarah in Indiana, thanks for holding your on the air.
Hey, thanks for going into overdrive for us, Alex.
You bet.
Hey, actually, we ordered some products from you guys a while back, and you actually double shipped it, which is the opposite of what most companies would do.
Well, that shows how we do things. No wonder I'm losing money.
Pardon me?
I was just joking. So they shipped you 2 things of products. Well, that's great.
Yeah, that was awesome, and my husband opened up the other one, so we'll be sending you guys that money here soon.
Oh, whatever. You can just have it. I don't care.
No, I wouldn't do that. You're an honor roll guy.
No, it's not nice. It's not your fault we double shipped it. Just keep it. Seriously. But
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I can't wait to try the Childies as well because I have 2 kids with autism.
Oh, wow.
That said, I wanted to talk today about CERN. I watched something this morning, and let's see, I take Adderall for a sleep disorder, so I'm a little jittery, so just please forgive me. Anyway, basically it's a pastor named Paul Begley, and he was interviewing a guy that he calls Mike from around the world. And he was talking about CERN and the dark matter and the black holes, and he was talking about that it's supposed to split the veil, like it says in the Bible, to peek behind the veil that they're going to find.
Yeah, to open up another dimension. It's not a very good idea.
Yeah. And I know some people in the military, and they seem kind of scared.
Well, that's because, atomic weapons, the equations are from 1900 Max Planck. That's old technology. Antimatter weapons is what they're looking for with CERN and other stuff, the God particle, and it really does open other dimensions. It really does create black holes. The Japanese 20 years ago were creating black holes and then trying to hold them together in these big, I'm not a physicist, but I've read about it in all the publications, these big, it's like force fields on spaceships in a movie, but it's real, but it holds the black hole in. And if that black hole gets out of control, we're done. But the scientists go, oh, there's a low probability this is going to happen. Well, if they do thousands of tests, they've already done hundreds, chances are some weird stuff's going to happen. And you notice CERN keeps blowing up. CERN keeps malfunctioning. It doesn't sound like a good idea to me. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? And they're always disproving physics of yesterday.
Right, science is always changing.
Well, I mean, what else do you think? What were they saying could happen if they split the veil?
Basically, it would open the portals of hell. And this gentleman said that he said that he was exposed to. I think it works with the sound somehow, but basically that it would amp it up so high that anybody, wherever they wanted to localize it, would be affected, and you would be overcome by so much negativity and anxiety and just gripping panic. And this gentleman said that the only thing that saved him was knowing that God loved him. And he said that he had to really focus. And he sounded like he was pretty tight with God. So,
well, I hear you. I mean, anytime you're scared, you just got to focus on God, know God's in control, and then a great peace comes over you. That's my greatest frustration is when I'm not on air, I have this great peace and a pretty calm guy. I get on air, and it's like battle, cover the news, expose them. But it takes all different kinds to turn this around. But the CERN thing, from a scientific perspective, we should do a whole report on the dangers of CERN and other giant cyclotrons. That's what it is, because they admit it could destroy the Earth. And remember, in the 50s and 60s, they did high-altitude detonations of hydrogen bombs that the Pentagon thought might actually ignite the atmosphere and kill the Earth, kill the habitable areas, and they still went ahead with it. Now, it didn't do that. They tried to blow up the Van Allen radiation belt. They tried to, I mean, this is all in Discovery Channel and History Channel shows. I mean, it's not secret. It's like, why would you do something that could kill everybody? Well, because we could. It's like sticking your finger in a light socket. I mean, why'd you? It's like, I poured gasoline on myself and lit it. Why'd you? Because I could. God bless you, Sarah. We appreciate your support. Bob in Illinois, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, this is Bob calling from the heart of Obama land in Chicago.
Did you leave the light on? Because you sound just like that guy.
I sure did. I'm just calling about Rand Paul. I think the taking back the country will first we have to elect Rand Paul, but to do that we're going to need to get on the offensive, and he's going to need to start slinging some mud at Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton, and possibly bringing up Hillary Clinton's horrible past. Like the fact that she was the first lady to ever go under criminal investigation, just all the scandals she's been involved in.
But she likes women, and so she's trendy.
Oh, yeah, I've heard.
She likes women. Just admit it. I mean, she's got a bunch of girlfriends. What's wrong with that? But see, it's bad if Clinton has girlfriends. Why is it good if she does? Because, see, that's a trendy thing, so it's okay.
That's okay, but, you know, she's married to a
rapist.
To Bill Clinton. A rapist, yeah. And
but that's why the feminists love her.
Cover that up throughout his whole campaigns. And
well, I mean, modern feminists are rapists. They want to rape women of their freedom, rape women of their femininity, rape them into being their minions. That's why so many top feminists love Hillary Clinton and others. God bless you, brother. Good points. Let's try to cram in one more or two more. Ben in Oklahoma, you're on the air, and then we got Rich in New York.
Hey, Alex. How's it going?
It's going all right.
I've been listening to you for a long time, and I was calling in today because you said earlier in the show maybe it's bigger than we thought. Excuse me. And it is, Alex. It's huge. These things they're all connected. Jade Helm, Atlantis, Jamie Dimon flipping his lid, Bitcoin, the island, your friend John Ronson, Fukushima, all these mass shooting psyops.
All right, I'm going to skip the network break and go to the bottom of the hour. I got to finish it with you and Rich. I got to hear this. How is it all connected? Give me the big enchilada.
Alex.
Alex, the Earth is a giant block of cheese.
Hey, man, we got to. It's huge, man. We got to just talk about it. Did you ever watch the television show Lost?
What about the television show Lost?
I mean, did you ever watch it?
No.
Are you familiar with it?
No, I hardly watch any TV, and I should watch some because that's where the real brainwashing is.
Man, I got to tell you, I mean, you should watch that. You would like it. It's right up your alley.
I think Mike Rivero worked on Lost, but, I mean, what about it? What was the show about?
It was about an island. It was about a floating island that with an energy source and, you know, the ancient history of Atlantis and, you know, all this stuff. I mean, it's basically the mind control. And it's huge, Alex. And it's all...
Well, there's definitely... the elites definitely knew the Earth was round thousands of years ago. They knew about the Americas. We know the Aztecs were trading with the Chinese and others. We know the real history's been suppressed. I mean, definitely there's a lot of stuff we don't know about, and the elites have advanced technology. They're aware of how to manipulate populations, and they don't act and operate like normal people do. Now, you can say they're inbred psychopaths, so that's why they do it, or they're really, interdimensional entities influencing humans to do it. That's what the Bible says. If you say it's demons, it's like, oh, that's mainline. Yes, it's demons. But if you say, well, that's interdimensional aliens, the Clockwork Elves, oh, my gosh, you're a crazy kook. All I know is I study actual rich people, actual old money billionaires, the DuPonts, the people at Bohemian Grove, the British royalty, the Rothschilds. These people are basket cases of occultism, and that's all they work with, all they think about, all they do. And they've got all the power. And no one messes with them. And so that's what you're trying to get at. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on off the radar screen. I can't get people to believe that they've got emergency centers under that act, which are public. I can't get folks to know there's death panels when it's in the bill, and the death panels are now operating. And it's on the cover of Newsweek, the case to kill Granny. So I hear you. I appreciate your call. I mean, anything else you want to add, Ben?
That's it, buddy.
Thank you, man.
Keep it up.
Write an article about how deep the rabbit hole goes for us. I mean, I don't know. I'll tell you how deep the rabbit hole goes. If I walk out on my porch at night, on a clear night with binoculars, I can see the Horsehead Nebula. And I'll tell you how deep the rabbit hole goes. If I'm out in New Mexico skiing 8 years ago, it was whenever the tsunami happened. We went on a week-and-a-half long vacation to Ruidoso to go skiing and sledding. And I walked out on the porch, and it was a crystal clear night with like 2 feet of snow on the ground. And it was freezing, and I looked up in the sky, and my dad had taught me how at Monument Valley when I was a kid to see satellites. And then he was also reading the paper, and he said at this time the space shuttle is going to be going by tonight. So we watched the space shuttle go by, and 15 minutes later it came back by around the world, and, you could see it and everything. But I remember being out there, and I remember hearing about this from folks so many times. I'd never seen it, never told this story. And it was a UFO, but I mean, that just means unidentified flying object. It didn't mean little green men. And I sat out there for about 30 minutes, and you could see not satellites going by. They were doing that too, with the sun hitting them because they're up above the Earth's mass blocking the light. But I watched craft up at the height of the satellites going thousands of miles an hour make 90-degree turns. Would a 90 be a straight turn? What's just an instant turn? That'd be a 90? A 180 would be going the opposite direction. I guess it'd be a 90 degree.
Acute or right angle.
Right angle turns. And I guess 8 years ago, iPhones weren't out then. I didn't have a camera. It's freezing. It's like 11 o'clock at night. The kids are asleep. And I knew I couldn't in the pitch black. Normal camera we had wouldn't zoom up to that. I just sat there, what were they? I don't know. Probably secret craft. But if our government's got things that at 5,000 miles an hour or however fast they were going can make right-angle turns, I mean, we're not in Kansas anymore, boys and girls. And then my dad was out visiting friends in Wyoming a few years ago, and they said, come out here and watch this. They're usually out here. And they went out there for a few hours drinking beer, looking up in the dark, and sure enough, my dad saw the same stuff. I mean, there is a lot of weird stuff going on, folks. Rich in New York, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Alex? 15 years with you, bro.
Well, thanks for putting up with me. You're a real sweetheart.
Listen, how about putting some nails in Jeb Bush's coffin? There's a whistleblower who goes by the name of Al Martin. He wrote a book on the Iran-Contra conspiracy, but it was mostly had to do with Jeb Bush more than anyone. And what he says, he has a website too. You can see it up on there. And
yeah, he has a website, Al Martin Raw, and he's probably been on the show about, let's not exaggerate, you said 15 years. He's probably been on about 15 times, but he hasn't been on in about 15 years. And I tried to get him on 5 or 6 times 15 years ago. It was before 9/11. He hasn't been on since before. No, he was on right after. It's been about 14 years. I want Al Martin on. He really does have the dirt on Jeb Bush. And you're absolutely right. I want to get him on.
Yeah, that would be great. The other thing is I wonder if you are familiar with something called the Credit River decision. It's Jerome Daly versus Montague Bank, Minnesota, 1969. To me, it's the most important court case that was
No, I was not familiar with it. Tell me about it.
Credit River decision, well, to make a long story short, it has something to do with the fact that they were foreclosing on his cabin up in Minnesota. And to make a long story short, what it was that he claimed that due to contract law, in contract law, you have to offer something of offer something of legal consideration, and you have to have you have to assume.
That's right. A contract won't stand up if there's not some type of payment or collateral put into it.
Yes. So his argument was that the bank just moved numbers on a ledger, and what they offered him with FRAUDS, fraud, Federal Reserve notes. And in that case, they found him. They found in favor of him. The judge asked the head of the bank when he put him on the stand. He said, "Listen, you just open your bank, okay? I want to take a $10 million loan." And he asked the president if he could make that loan, and he said yes. And he said, "Well, how can you do that?" He goes, "Well, we can grab money out of thin air. We can make money out of thin air." And
that's fractional reserve banking, and now they've gone light years past that with the whole derivatives thing. Absolutely.
So it's a great case for the fact that every single mortgage in this country is illegal. Every single credit card.
Well, that's admitted too because of Mears and how they filed it. Oh, exactly. I appreciate your call. Great points. When you start looking into, they never ratified the amendment to give the IRS the Federal Reserve's private, and then you go research it and it's true. I mean, it's just people are so bamboozled. The problem is, most of the society and culture is built on the fraud now, so you try to cut it out, you kill yourself. The problem is the cancer's still killing us, so we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. We're between a rock and a hard place. You know, Deborah, I want to go to you, and I want to go to David, but we're just out of time. I went overdrive 28 minutes. Call me back tomorrow. Tell them you were on hold. I'll put you to the head of the line. Sunday. That's right. Thank you for it all runs together. I'm going to be shooting some reports tomorrow, so I'm working tomorrow part of the day. I'll be here live Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Briefly, we have the new product, Child Ease. It's from one of the leading organic manufacturers in the country, private labeled. We just souped it up with a few extra ingredients, and it costs the same amount as the folks that manufacture it. It's higher retail. So we sell it for what it's actually sold for, not the regular retail. So it's a very good deal. And I decided years ago we needed a nutraceutical formula that was designed for myself and for my children to be safe. Children are hit with mind control, television, music, fast food, GMOs, sugars, you name it. They have not even developed their nervous system and are being bombarded daily. They can't focus, they can't calm down, and basically are put on psych drugs. I've set out to find the best formula for children, which I'd actually like to take for myself and my family, which they do take now, with great results. We've worked with the leading manufacturer in nutraceutical nutritional supplements that are safe for children to bring you the most affordable and powerful calming formula out there. Introducing Child Ease with herbs and calming extracts based on safe formulas traditionally used by cultures around the world throughout history. So I'm not going to get into the rest of it because we're out of time. There's no sugar, no GMO. InfoWars, Life.com, or 888-253-3139. And it's an introductory product. We'll sell out in about a week, and then we'll have plenty of it in a month or so. But if you want to try it out and support us, I appreciate you all. I'm humbled by your support. We try to support you by really giving you high-quality products to support us. InfoWarsLife.com. We'll see you back Sunday, Lord willing.